pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. People, please turn on their microphones. Natalie? And we got a little feedback. All right.
Better get a pen.
So, call the meeting to order here. This is the
See if that one runs.
regular meeting for the City Council, City of Nowthen, June 9th, 2022, 7 p.m. And Frank, would you please call roll?
Certainly, Mayor. Mayor Pilon.
Present.
Councilmember Alders.
Here.
Councilmember Blake.
Here.
Councilmember Greenberg.
Here.
Councilmember Rainville.
Here.
All right. So we have our new packets. Everybody appreciated the work the staff did putting those together. I think it'll help things move smoothly and organized. With that said, I would accept a motion to approve or amend the agenda as presented here tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Planner Stockman.
may I add one item under, it could be at the very end of the meeting if you prefer, just regarding the moratorium that's in place regarding commercial industrial development.
All right, let's put that at the end.
Is that 8C?
That will
Where would
be
it be?
Or is that 7?
8C.
8C.
Okay.
Any other items for the agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Frank?
typographical error on consent agenda here. The claims list is actually from May 5th up until June 8th. Pardon me, we replicated the same dates on two different agenda items.
All right, anything else? And I would accept a motion to approve as amended.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainville?
I think Councilmember Blake
No,
started
go
first.
ahead.
I move the agenda as presented and amended.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Rainville. Did we have a second from Councilmember Blake, did I hear?
Yes, second.
And all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, quite a full consent agenda tonight. First item is the council meeting minutes, approval of the council meeting minutes for our work session May 5th and our regular meeting on May 12th. We have the approval of claims dated May 5th through June 8th and the treasurer's report. We have a resolution accepting donations from the Elk River Youth Hockey Association and the filing of the state forms with the local gambling board. A resolution to purchase and install a 4-inch well to serve these buildings and also our hockey rinks and park. Renewal of liquor license for our local establishments, Bootleggers, Burns Bottle Shop, and Northwoods Bar and Grill. We have approval of a resolution appointing a new member to the Planning and Zoning Commission to fill our existing vacancy. We have an approval for the resolution ordering feasibility report for our 2023 road improvement projects. Approval of a resolution authorizing expenditures to replace a culvert that's collapsed and threatening our roads up in the north edge of the city. We have approval for the quote on Northern Salt to apply calcium chloride to 20 segments of Class 5 roads throughout the city. That should be done third week of June, fourth week at the latest. There's a approval for reduction of letter of credit to the Toft First Edition. Approval of resolution authorizing placement of an ad in the Chamber of Commerce, Anoka Chamber of Commerce official map. Resolution approving the quote to do a scheduled grass mowing on our 3 city parcels. Approval of resolution, payment of 90% of the cost of the tender that we've purchased, and that would get us a 3% cash back reward. approval of payments for the election judges, assistant head judge, and head judges, and approval for a quote to apply herbicides in certain sections of the city that have gotten extremely weedy. So with that on the consent agenda, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Rainville.
This, for my mind, to clarify on Q, you talked about the herbicides, so not certain parts of the city, it's city properties? So we're not applying something
sorry.
on somebody else's property?
Yes, it's just certain
All right,
parts of the
that's fine.
city properties, the
All right,
parks
thank-
that have gotten
All right,
too weedy.
I just wanted to get that clarified. Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Greenberg.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion from Councilmember Greenberg
Second.
and a second from Councilmember Blake. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Poffel, you are up to present our audit.
Do my short version. It's a very extensive report, and it's a very complicated report. But it was set up by Rebecca Otto, and she was the state auditor. And it's based on a standard government accounting standard number 34. And what it does, it provides two sets of books. One for the underwriters who love it because they don't understand governmental accounting. So here's a good start. It's right in the first page, the table of contents. For those, did everybody get this letter that kind of walked you through?
Yes.
The introductory section, of course, you can see everybody that is on there. I hope the name is all wrong. Jason, your name, all right?
That's great.
The financial section is my audit report contains pages, and it's a clean audit report. In other words, it's everything that's possible. We're talking about the financial aspects of it, assets, liabilities, revenues, expenditures. They're right on, perfect, and it's not to my credit, but Laura Yeager being able to establish a complete understanding of this banking system, which I'm not real fond of. I wrote that thing, by the way, with his banking. So that's why I'm not fond. So we wrote it for a specific city of Forest Lake, and as to how he wanted to do things. The guy at Forest Lake, he wasn't going to switch over the computer unless you made his system implement. Hell, all right, so I sit down and help this guy write it. Well, where does he go with it, you know? He sells it to everybody. And it's
And forgot to give you your commission.
Huh?
And forgot to give you your commission.
It's a little bit better than the C-test. Now, the C-test, unfortunately, was cash basis, okay? It was free, but it was cash basis, and you're a very sophisticated city now, and you have to go to a pool, and you should record all your assessments and your liabilities and everything else. So you had to go to some sort of a more sophisticated system. And we're here, and poor Natalie will have to deal with the darn thing. Those guys come on, help you with some, don't they?
Yes, I met with
They've been
Lori.
very helpful.
I met with Lori today.
Okay. So the letter says everything is fine. Then we'll move on to the next section is we've got a piece of letterhead on it, city of Nowthen. This is for the underwriter, people who are going to sell and do your bonds. They like to look at this stuff. If you read the 3M report or anybody's management report, they have with management discussion and analysis. There's about 8 pages, Roman numeral, with pies and everything like that. It's good reading, and it's exactly what these people want. They don't want to, if they took one accounting course, that's all they took in college. So that's good reading, but it's not the substance of what we're looking for. The very next page, which finally a legitimate page 1, is a balance sheet. If you were, if not a Roman numeral, the first whole number. That is a balance sheet if you were 3M, assets and liabilities. That's something we don't spend a lot of time on. We have to go budget expense, etc. The first page with fund accounting is page 3, and there's all your funds. Except, you got so many funds that I had to put some on page 24, and I had to put some on 26. But if you look at that, you see, you start off on, everybody got page 3?
Yep.
Those are the assets and liabilities. Why don't we look at page 5, which is more our liking. It's the first fund is a road renewal fund. You got $1.3 million in there. That was set aside, I think mostly from a transfer from the general fund a couple of years back. Park acquisition, there's your general fund with all the activity. The 2020 road improvement, just finished up in 2021. And then you have the 2019A bonds, which is the debt service fund. And then a quick look at page 24, and you'll see the breakdown of the equipment and other capital on page 24. Then you can roll it, that's the big one. The building fund, the equipment replacement, the grant fund, and we have a new fund called the 2021 General Obligation Debt Service. And that's going to be a big one. It's got 89,000 for cash, and it's got all kinds of assessments in that project. I would suspect that will be listed on page 3 and 5 next year. If anybody has any questions on that, don't give me a buzz on the phone. I've talked to a couple of you on the phone before if you've had any issues. But this is your books. I just take it off of what Lori Yeager's on. Page 7 is one that we live with. All right. There's your budget to actual general fund. That's what we base our taxes on. And as you can see, the revenues are up primarily because of the ARPA, 250,000. Down on the second part of page 7, you see the expenditures, and they pretty much were less than budget. Amazing, right? The total general government is less. Public works was 338, and the budget was 408. On page 8 is continued. Then you can see the law enforcement, recycling, animal control, fire calls. The only one, building inspection went up, and I guess we all know why, because of the development. And then the other expenses in the middle of the section, the only one that's too high is the professional fees. And I took a look at that, and actually Natalie can get you a breakdown of that. Natalie, you got a pencil? Mm-hmm. The account 41,550. That's Lori Yeager. Okay. The other one is 41,710, 310. And that's got 50,000 in it, so most of that is our new administrator. And then the last one, if anybody wanted to know, was 41,420, 310. And that has about 10,000 in it. So they're scattered around, but mostly it's Lori Yeager, Frank, and but then beyond that, we have a lot of professional services during the year. There's at least 20 or 25 of them. As you see that happening, you'll see there's a bunch of small ones in there. Anything that was a professional service wasn't just limited to accounting, and there's no legal fees in there that I know of. So that's the only account that kind of was over budget. Beyond that, I did say I was going to give you the 5-minute session, so I want you to be aware of page 15, which is your capital assets, the assets, infrastructure and everything else in the city. Now, I've given Natalie a breakdown of this, and I can continue to do it. If somebody's got to pick up on this, I'm not supposed to be doing it. Because if I do it and then check it, they holler at me, a lot, Jason. You're checking your own work.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's tough to checking your own work. 16 and 17, if you want to know anything about your bond, there's something in there. The last two pages of the report, way back on 28 and 29, I believe it is, are reports that say that you comply with laws. 28 and 29 talks about internal control. We've had some issues, but nothing so significant. And there was really kind of something that's expected when you have a turnover of people. You can't expect everything to go smoothly. Has anybody got any questions? If you approve this, I give Natalie a flash drive, and she sends it to the safe system. Ever heard that one?
Yes, sir.
But only after you approve it, the electronic copy. There is one other thing that the state report that has to be filed, and it's called the state auditor's financial reporting form, and I believe that Lori Yeager can do that for you. I'll help her do it too.
Okay.
It's due by June 30th, but we've got extensions before. The other thing is, I still have given this to Natalie also. Is what I showed you when you were in the office one day, Mayor, a breakdown of the special assessment. Okay, you say, well, the county keeps track of them. I don't think I trust the county to do that. You have to, if you've got 29 units that are unpaid at the beginning of the year, if somebody prepays, you want to see 28 at the end of the year. I see in my vast experience situations where these units fell off the chart and there was no money. Show me the money, right? Before you take a $2,000 assessment off of the rolls, you better have money. So there's mistakes that can be done there, so we really have to keep a dual set of records there. You kind of agree with me.
We do, yeah, and we do have a second set.
And I provided those, there's another thing I was doing that I wasn't supposed to be doing, so checking your own work, Jason. They don't like to do that.
Fox watching in-house.
So why, you said there's no legal fees on here, where are they?
What's that?
You said this
Yeah, they
now.
No, in a professional
where are
services.
They were
They're
within budget.
categorized
they? Under
as.
professional services, okay, I was wondering where they went.
Yeah, right here.
And Frank, you got the
Yeah, I saw professional
Report, we
services,
have two
but then
by
you
two
said there are no legal fees on there.
Legal fees.
All right, council, any official questions for our auditor before we,
I think there was 3 months of Frank's services in those professional services, and that's what caused this to be more public. Is that the thing you're asking about?
Frank's killing us.
Yeah, right, yeah, no, yeah, sort of.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember
Yeah,
Rainbow.
October, right?
And again, remember, this is the 2021 report, so there will be other, in next year's audit, we'll see some other.
One time only.
Councilmember Rainbow,
But Frank's on this one, for just 3 months.
2 months.
2 months.
Councilmember Rainbow.
And just for my clarification, so when you have, such as the legal services or consultants, some of that expense is passed through. So it doesn't mean actual expense to us because those expenses are being passed through to the client that they, because of that client they were incurred. So accrued. So it's not that that's all of our expenses. It's
Did
ours
everybody get the
plus,
sec-
yeah, ours
I
plus.
don't see what you're saying.
So if you,
Give me an example.
okay.
Hang on a second, Mike, one person talking at a time.
So if it says legal fees or professional services, $100,000, I'm just taking a number.
Is it
Of that $100,000, maybe only half of it is truly our expense internally. The
City
rest
expense.
is the city's expense, the rest is being, passed through to the client. So if it's planning and zoning, if it's a fire issue, if it's, you know,
okay.
that type of thing. Legal
Yeah.
bills, you know, the road improvement.
I see.
There may be, sure, yeah. So it's not true expensive about, you know,
Pro did that.
yeah, it's pro.
Okay, okay.
Did everybody get this second letter that just talks a little bit about the problems that existed? It was dated way back in May 18th. Talks about the barrier system and Laurier. Some of the, you want to get that? Yeah, I know, I think it was kind of unnerved by the fact that a tax return didn't get filed. But these are things that will happen when you have turnover of people. So I wouldn't get alarmed, but I think that for the most part, now they, except for the fact that you can't talk to the IRS, right?
Exactly.
Oh, they're so overwhelmed. The IRS did not continue to operate during that first COVID thing. They just took off. Like the state of Minnesota, they worked virtually. They worked from home at accessing the Minnesota system. But so when they weren't going to let people that work for the IRS do that. So when they came back 9 months later, they go back to.
Yeah.
So then they're still not caught up. So that's the deal. Can I put this safely in your hands?
Yes, please.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Pofol?
Yeah, sorry.
Seeing none, you can give that to Natalie, and we will accept a motion on the resolution
Thank you, sir.
accepting the 2021 audit as prepared by Mr. Pofol and presented here tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainbow.
I move that we approve the 2021 audit as presented by Mr. Pufall.
All right, we have
Nice job.
a motion from Councilmember Rainbow. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Greenberg. Any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Michael.
The only other discovery I have is that your planning officer has got a weakness for chocolate.
Well, you bring treats in all the time.
I think that's a common problem at the office. You may not be the only one. So. Okay. All right, thank you for that, Michael. Now we'll go on to floor items. Item number 4, we have Sam Corns.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Please give your full name and address, please.
Sure, Samuel Corns, address is 19223 Burns Parkway, here in Nowthen. I'm here today to see if we can possibly talk about extending the hours of the recycling center. I know they've adjusted a few times. It used to be open 24 hours. And it was extremely convenient when it was open 24 hours. Myself and a lot of my neighbors, we're all confused on why they shut down during COVID, and we kind of accepted that happened. But after we have an employee there now, and we're just wondering if it closes down at 5 o'clock p.m. right now, with everybody that gets off work at 5 o'clock p.m. Is there any way to possibly extend the hours a little bit or 1 or 2 days a week? I don't think that it's going to ever get back open to 24 hours again, so it's almost pointless to ask, but that's the only reason I'm here.
All right, so typically on floor items, we don't act on them that night. We give it to staff to research. And just to clarify, and you're right, because of the problems we had in the past, 24/7, there were things that shouldn't be going on in there that were, and certainly was costing the city a lot of money for products that were left that weren't paid for. So that's not a likelihood, but we certainly can look at, and maybe 5 o'clock isn't the deadline we have to. So we'll investigate, is there some other flexibility in that schedule as we move forward here. So.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Right, we'll turn that to staff and then we'll bring it up as is appropriate. So, thank you for bringing that up. We have the sheriff's report. Lieutenant, we're not catching ne'er-do-wells tonight, so. Not yet, anyway.
A little early.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, this is the report for May 2022. It's already June. Time has been flying, holy cow. Sheriff's deputies responded to a total of 114 calls in the city of Nowthen for the month of May. That does put us year-to-date 75 calls over where we were last year at this time. Some of the specific reporting: 3 calls to the bar none facility, nothing of consequence. Similar runaway calls that we've been responding to there periodically. 2 medical calls, one of which I'll talk to briefly. A couple noteworthy calls for service, and I think the fire chief will probably report on some of these as well. As is common, we dual respond to these incidents, so he may have similar information. But May 4th, 4 a.m., we got a suspicion call. The 180 block of Waco Street. Delivery person, newspaper delivery person reported hearing 2 gunshots from within the home. Out in the country, gunshots are not totally uncommon, but in this instance, they felt that they were coming from in the home. So they did the right thing, called 911. Our deputies came out, knocked on the door, talked to the homeowner, searched the home. No sign of a problem. I only bring that up because we get calls, and I've talked about this before, we do get calls where someone will report several hours later that they saw a suspicious vehicle or something didn't seem right, and then they think about it for several hours and then call. Again, this is an instance where please call, we'll come out, we'll check it out. We'd rather have it not be a problem and have us come out than for us or the fire department to discover a problem many hours later. So thank you to that citizen for calling, and again, like I said, relieved to find no problem, but an alarming report, so I thought I'd bring that one up for you. A medical call. similar block number on Waco. We responded to a report of a mother giving birth, actually kind of a rare call for deputies. A fire responded to that one as well. Our deputies arrived and found out the baby boy had been born. Report did not indicate a name yet, but the deputies, and I won't speak for fire, our deputies kind of stood by and just monitored. Having been on those calls, it can be very chaotic for mom and for, I don't know, for the cops it is, because you guys may be more comfortable in those situations as emergency medical folks, but it can be a little traumatic for everybody, but we're happy to report that everybody's happy and healthy, and those out-of-hospital births are kind of rare, so I thought I would bring that one up too, and we're happy to hear that mom and baby boy are doing well. Excuse me, a bit of proactive work. One of our deputies at midnight on the 14th did stop a vehicle. It's a brake light out violation. Again, a minor violation, but he found that the driver was driving on a revoked license, had a felony warrant, and had suspected methamphetamine in the car. So, again, that type of proactive enforcement here in Nowthen and across the county, it's important because, yes, it's a brake light out, it's a safety issue, we'll stop and address that, but it also helps us uncover other things that are happening within your community that clearly you don't want in your community. So, and then the last call I'll touch on, that the fire chief will probably touch on as well, that'll be on the 17th. We were actually just leaving our lunch that day and got a call of a single vehicle rollover with entrapment. That means the vehicle had rolled, and initial information was the driver was trapped in the vehicle. That triggers a more significant response from both us and the fire department, and it was preceded by a possible medical, I believe, involving the individual driver. So, and I think I may have emailed y'all when it happened, but we did have a helicopter that came out to your city, an air ambulance on that call, as a precaution. And you know, we're more likely, I think the chief will agree on this too, we're more likely to have an air ambulance start when we're up here now than we would be farther south, because we're farther via ground to a trauma center. But in this case, they did decide to transport by ground. I wasn't on this call, so I'll have the chief talk more about that one. A couple miscellaneous things to report, some things that the city administrator asked me to touch on. July 1st, Nowthen's city vehicle, city squad car will be moving into the substation. As with everybody, we're having difficulty sourcing vehicles and sourcing vehicle parts. But I talked with our patrol command this afternoon, and if the vehicle that's being built for the city is not ready by then, there'll be a different vehicle in there, and we'll sort of backfill the best we can. So, and some equipment will be arriving, some more equipment this week and next week to start building that out. Some of the technology, I think I mentioned before, we're holding off on because we may be switching to a new sort of solution, a cellular solution, which helps us connect better out in this part of the county. So some of that tech will be sort of in flux for now, but we do plan to take up permanent residence there, just so you know. And, I'm aware. Perfect. So we'll be moving in and getting things settled over the next few weeks and months, and we're very much looking forward to it. A couple other things. I've received a couple calls on speeding. I've been getting information.
Lieutenant, can I just ask you real quick on that?
Yes, sir.
You were talking about the car. So you're getting a new vehicle that you're planning for our city?
Yes, that's the plan for now. We started, we ordered a number of vehicles late last year. We've been ordering Dodge products based on the price. We were ordering Dodge products, both Chargers and Durangos. They were coming in at a really good price for us. Unfortunately, a lot of those vehicles were canceled in March. We'd ordered them end of last year. Dodge told us in March, we are canceling these vehicles, and we are not able to replace them. That sent us and a number of other agencies and public safety folks out looking for other vehicles. We did end up ordering some Ford vehicles, and we're trying to backfill some other cars, but unfortunately, it's something that everybody's dealing with. The car that will reside permanently in the city will reflect the city's name, as we discussed, but if that car isn't done, like I said, it may be one of our protect and serve units. You'll see those are countywide cars that instead of reflecting a city name on the back, they'll reflect protect and serve, one of our mottos. And so that car may be there temporarily, but we'll get it backfilled as soon as we can. So,
And so I believe that whenever the new vehicle or other vehicle comes in, that one will be placarded and
yep. Yes, sir.
recognized as an Nowthen car.
Yes, sir. Will. Yep.
Thank you.
And then, just to touch on the speeding issues, been receiving information from the city staff folks. They've been getting complaints speeding on a number of area roads. That concern was also reflected on the number of extreme speed crashes we've had in Anoka County. We had the one last year out here with the motorcyclist that was tragically killed. That was an extreme speed crash on a motorcycle. You may have seen the one on Hanson Boulevard in the city of Andover by our sheriff's department that occurred earlier this week on a motorcycle. Again, that's suspected to be an extreme speed crash. People think that speeding is just, it's just speeding. The speed limits are designated for certain roads and certain districts for a reason, and we are going to start more aggressively enforcing those both here in Nowthen and across the county. We are, unfortunately, in Anoka County leading the state, tied right now with Hennepin County for fatal motor vehicle crashes. Now, those numbers could have changed since we got them earlier this week, but that's not a place we want to be here in Anoka County. That's not something we've had in Nowthen. We've had some, unfortunately, as you folks know, we've had some very bad crashes here in the city of Nowthen, and that initiative you're going to see both on our social media site, and you're going to see it in the way we patrol. You're going to start seeing us utilizing what are called specialty marked traffic enforcement vehicles. That's a specific state law that allows us to use uniformed deputies in vehicles that are not fully marked. And that helps us identify dangerous drivers and stop them. And unmarked vehicles can help us do that because people rarely drive recklessly in front of marked vehicles. That's good, that's what we want. But as an example, I was coming up 65 on the way here, and I had a motorcycle driving way too fast, tailgating me, not signaling. I stopped that vehicle, and he would have never exhibited that driving conduct if I was in a marked vehicle. And that's part of our goal. We're not trying to play gotcha, but that conduct out there, it's unfortunately since COVID, it's been bad, and we've been our roads have been far too dangerous. So expect to see that on our Facebook page. Expect to see some of those vehicles operating in your city and in neighboring cities. Again, it's a goal of ours to try to bring those numbers down, and the sheriff is pretty dedicated to making sure that we certainly have the tools, and we're going to get the personnel out on the road to start doing that.
Lieutenant, does the sheriff's department have something documented? When you're going to put something on the Facebook, I would recommend we put it on our website as well, just for those people that are actually looking at our website.
Yes.
But it'd be nice to have that verbiage, just a heads up, like you have a public service announcement when we're going to be watching things close and on holiday weekends or whatever it is. But it'd be nice to, those that, word to the wise should be sufficient. We have a lot of people cutting through Nowthen right now because of all the construction.
Yes.
And they're trying to make up time. And so I know that the question has been for our dirt roads, because it's been so dry and the speed on those dirt roads is certainly causing them to deteriorate quickly.
Yes.
But obviously where people are cutting through, that's part of the problem we've had up here heading in St. Francis. It's people doing cut-arounds.
Yes.
Yeah,
and you'll probably see an official press release too, in conjunction with some of the other social media stuff. To that end, those are posted on our page as well, and we're trying to get the word out that if you're taking the chance to drive too fast or drive recklessly, that Toyota Camry in front of you might be a squad car. So I think that
well, that's just not fair. Use Camrys.
We have one of the benefits of contracting with us is we have a large unmarked fleet. State law restricts how many unmarked cars you can have, and it's based on how many marked cars you have. Well, I'll tell you, we have a lot of marked cars. That means we can have a good fleet of unmarked cars as well that we can use for these type of details. So, that's what we want. We want people to be less likely to take these kind of risks. Because I'll tell you, the young man out here, I was on that call. That was last summer, last fall, last summer. I was on that call, and I don't think that he expected to die that day. No. I think he was a young man who was enjoying his very fast motorcycle. Yeah. But unfortunately, people don't always consider those risks, and it's part of our job to be visible and try to stop them. So, you know, and we're in the early stages of this other investigation in the city of Andover, but again, early indications that's going to be an extreme speed crash. And I was talking with some of the vendors today out at the farmers market too, and especially with motorcycles, we're seeing a lot of folks fleeing us on motorcycles and a lot of high speed with motorcycles. And the common theme is, well, on a motorcycle, they're just endangering themselves. Well, in Andover, in that crash, the driver of the other vehicle was killed as well. And we've seen motorcycle crashes that kill passengers of motorcycles, kill drivers of other vehicles. It's just downright reckless. And, you know, like I said, we're going to try to address it with some not so mainstream ways. So.
Great.
Well, you've got any of those vehicles waiting for parts, you know, that the vast amount of vehicles you have, you want to park them on prominent corners.
There you go, yeah.
I've seen that in suburban areas where
Sure.
state patrol will send squads home with people in it.
Sure.
Nobody knows that's an empty squad or,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you got any need parked.
Yeah. One last thing that the city administrator asked me to address as a complaint we received regarding speeding on Burns Parkway, specifically involving trucks from Fairfax Asphalt. Were you guys briefed on this at all? Did you guys know about this complaint? Basically, a citizen had contacted us and said that he was observing these asphalt trucks driving far too fast on Burns Parkway. He said he even paced one of them, you know, well over the speed limit, 65 some miles an hour in a fully loaded truck. I talked with a resident yesterday about it, his concerns, and I actually called the company and talked with them directly, just so they knew that, hey, these trucks have your name in huge letters on them. We know they're your trucks. So they were very cooperative. They agreed to talk to their drivers, remind them about the speed limits, and I let them know that we're going to be out there looking for it. It's hard to miss a truck, and, you know, so they were great. They were totally cooperative. They didn't believe their vehicles could go that fast. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with those types of vehicles, but again, talk to the owner or talk to the employees over there. They were very cooperative. So hopefully we've resolved that, and we again encourage people to call if they see that kind of stuff.
You do know that they're a local company, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then I did talk with our patrol team that night too, just so they're aware that a specific complaint, we're going to try to address it, and hopefully it's not an issue, but ultimately if it is, we want to be on top of it the best we can. So, sorry, I apologize, kind of a long report tonight. Any questions, anything else I can try to answer for you?
Council?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Greenberg.
Lieutenant, I just want to give a shout out to one of the deputy sheriffs that was out at Twin Lakes Park. I was out there with a bunch of teenagers, probably 16 of them, playing Frisbee a week ago, and we waved at the sheriff as he went by. So he decided to impromptu stop, talk to the kids, show them his vehicle, show them other things in the vehicle, let a few kids sit in the vehicle, turn on the lights and siren. And, you know, the kids were very much interested, engaged, and were very positively impacted by that impromptu stop. I enjoyed it as well. We got to see some of the tools that they use that I was unaware of, and we thought it was great.
Do you happen to know the deputy's name?
I don't.
Okay.
But right in the middle of it, he got a call and had to split, and they loved that too.
I'm sure. Great, I love to hear that. Thank you for passing it on, and I'll find out what deputy that was.
A little investigative work. Twin Lakes Park a week ago.
I will pass it on too, and we see that a lot. You know, we're a busy agency, we're a large agency, but when we have time to do those kind of things, we love to do those kind of things. I will point out that there are deputies that don't even let me sit in their cars, so it's quite the benefit for the young ones too. And you know, we don't want the narrative that's out there right now. We don't want people to feel like we're the enemy, or that, you know, we're not the good guys. We're the good guys, and I talked with more than one person about that today at the farmers market. That, you know, we are just people. We're doing our best to try to positively impact your community. we go home to our families and have other cops serve us, the folks that don't live in the county, and that speaks to it. We're just trying to do our best, and thank you for sharing that. I love to hear it, and I'll pass it on to Patrol. Thank you.
And just, along those lines, thank you for going to the farmer's market and participating and answering questions and being visible.
Sure.
Because we also want to change that narrative.
Yeah.
The news, we thought we kind of rode a rough wave a couple of years ago, and it seems to be back, so.
Yeah. They do have donuts. I just will point that out. There's a mini donut truck that caught my eye. So,
Oh, my gosh.
it worked out fine. So.
For supper.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. Yes.
Two things, Lieutenant. One, are our roads adequately marked from a miles per hour perspective to allow you to effectively enforce?
Yes, yeah, and we reflect anytime we make an enforcement stop. It has to be the speed limit has to be clearly posted. The sign has to be free and clear of obstruction. So when we see things that are not posted or obstructed or damaged, we notify County Highway and have them replaced. And then the speed limits are set via basically speed studies. Basically, if you go into statute, there's a list of these roads are this speed limit, these roads are this speed limit, and they're all listed in there. But there are variations on speeds given what else is going on. A great example is Lexington Avenue. If you're way up north in the county, the speed limit's 50, 55. If you're down in the city of Circle Pines or Lexington, where the houses were built right on the road, you'll see the speed limit on the same road, 30, 35. So. We haven't seen any issues that would hinder us from getting out there and enforcing that. So,
Sure. Second question, what's the name of your renewed emphasis on compliance with the traffic laws? You had a little...
Sure. We don't, I don't know that we have a name for it, but we're going to be working under a statute. It's a specialty marked vehicle statute, basically, that will allow us to, send more unmarked vehicles on the road.
Gotcha.
So, and you may have seen them, basically they put a patch on the passenger front door, and it'll clearly say this is a sheriff's vehicle. That way, if there's a question whether or not this is a real police officer, the door is marked. It's marked that way, so if we pull to the stop and we're approaching a house, you're going to clearly be able to see that it's a sheriff's vehicle or a law enforcement vehicle. But if we're passing speeding traffic, you're not going to be immediately be able to see it because it's not on the left side; it's on the right side only. So that's what
I don't know what the politics are in Anoka County, but would there be any value whatsoever in having the various city councils adopt a resolution supporting such an effort?
We'd absolutely welcome that. Yes, and it's an unprecedented time when it comes to speeding and reckless driving. I know I'm hammering on it, and I'm kind of going on here, but the fire chief, we see it firsthand. We are on those calls. We see those crashes. We see those consequences, and coming from investigations, you can get used to, tragically, you can get used to those scenes. You can get used to seeing what happens, the consequences to those crashes. But the real trauma is talking to those families. The real trauma is knocking on those doors at 2 a.m. and trying to talk to those families who've lost a father, lost a son, lost a child. I've been on those crashes as well, and that's what sticks with you. And I'll tell you, you go to a number of those, it's going to change your own driving conducts too. Because when I was a young deputy, a young cop, lights and sirens, let's go. Like, that's great, but it doesn't take long for you to understand the consequences of driving too fast and not understanding the limits of yourself, the roads, your vehicle. You're never going to find people more passionate about road safety than the folks that respond to those crashes. So, sorry. Again,
Well, I think the other problem is you say you don't necessarily get used to it, but one of the things that the league is really focused on with a number of agencies are the PTSD issues.
Right.
And I've been talking to a number of officers, retired officers, and those crashes they thought they got over at that time, but they're now having trouble sleeping 20 years later. So
right.
we have to protect our protectors as well. And while you guys are paid to be, you and the fire department are paid to be there first, that doesn't mean it doesn't have an impact, if not immediately, eventually. So we want everybody, the families involved and the people that are providing protection, to all be able to sleep well at night, so.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you.
We do appreciate our relationship. We look forward to the new era that's coming in here in July, and we appreciate the partnership with the fire department, and we think this is going to be exciting, so.
Absolutely.
And I know we have officers on the fire department that think the same way about public service and involvement with the community. So again, we appreciate taking time to stop and meet with young people, coming over to the farmer's market, even if it was just for the donuts. But we appreciate the public safety relationships we have, so thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Chief Schmidt.
Mayor and council, seems we went from winter to a day of spring to beautiful days here. I'm happy to present the report for May. A little bit of apologies, I did have a short vacation in May and came back and was COVID positive for a week, and then we rolled right into Pioneer Days, so it's been a very quick and unfortunately very weird month of May for me. So for the month of May, the fire department responded to 24 incidents on the month, which is a slight increase over the 17 we responded to in April, with an average response time of 11 minutes and 45 seconds. Again, a little bit of an increase compared to the previous month. The average number of firefighters attending calls for service was 4.1. We do typically see a small decrease in May as the weather starts to get nice and events start happening, and fishing opener and Memorial Weekend. That certainly has an impact on our available staff. We are also reporting a $4,500 loss from fires during the month of May, which I'll highlight here further. A couple of calls of note for the month of May. On May 8th, the fire department responded with the Sheriff's Office to a reported narcotics overdose on the 21800 block of Norris Lake Road. On May 17th, as Lieutenant Jacobson alluded to, we responded to a single vehicle crash that required extrication at the intersection of Norris Lake Road and Nowthen Boulevard right at the curve. This is a call that did originate in St. Francis. I actually left our lunch to respond to the call in St. Francis for an altered person. Before we arrived, that person had left the home and subsequently had a terrible accident at the corner of Nowthen and Norris Lake Road. He was transported by ground in serious condition. He is expected to survive the incident. But again, back to Lieutenant Jacobson's point, the amount of crashes, the speed, we're really starting to see this have a major impact all across Anoka County and the state of Minnesota. So this is not a problem unique to Nowthen. It's something that Lieutenant Jacobson and I have had conversations about. We really appreciate the enhanced effort that the sheriff's deputies will be bringing in Nowthen and St. Francis as well. On May 17th, the fire department responded to a lawnmower fire on the 8400 block of 185th. That resulted in a $4,000 loss on that incident. And on May 25th, the fire department responded to a report of a camper on fire on the 7000 block of Old Viking Boulevard. Upon arrival, crews found a small electrical fire for the charging station for the camper. The fire was found and extinguished quickly, which resulted in approximately a $500 loss on that incident. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding fire department activity for the month of May.
The captain's working.
Captains are working out well. We're starting to get some projects assigned, again, with some of the time off, and Assistant Chief Lawrence is actually in California right now on a short vacation. So between my absence and his absence, we're a little bit delayed on where we would like them to be, but we will get back at it here early next week. But they are in place. They have assignments and tasks. They're working out very well. I think they're very highly respected from our staff. So I do expect that good things will be happening with those staff members.
And morale overall
has been great. It's been, as you can tell, we're having those high acuity events creep up. The benefit of the staff that we have here in Nowthen, as everybody knows, it's a very tight-knit group. If one's struggling, everybody jumps in. If one needs help, whether it's service related or service at home, this group of 14 firefighters has been tremendous at stepping up for one another and stepping up when we've asked them to as well.
Recruitment, are we still looking?
We're still looking. We're always going to be looking until we get to that magic number 20. And as you know, being involved with some fire department operations over the years, it seems like you get 2, you lose 4. Thankfully, we haven't lost anybody in the last couple months. But that's something that we're going to push really hard, especially with Captain Suki, to get out there and make contacts and shake hands and get people interested.
Again, I know Assistant Chief Schrag has stated many times he likes to be involved in the community, so if
Yes, sir.
if there are any of the captains, anybody else wants to join us at the farmer's market, or if you have things you want to make sure if we're not running enough on the website, but
Yep. Already
anything
made
else
a
we
note
can
of
do
it.
to.
Absolutely.
And I see that you got your extrication equipment and you got a chance to try it on the rollover. I see you were practicing out here as well.
Yep, it worked really well. We did have the spreader take on a little bit of damage. It's under warranty, so we called the service tech. They came out. They left us a loaner tool, so we have no reduction of service, and they'll get the part replaced on the new piece. So it's a part that's damaged that the service tech, who's I've known for 25 years, he's never seen that part break before. So they'll get it fixed. It's all under warranty. It'll be zero cost back to the city, and we'll get that back in service hopefully in less than 30 days. But we do have a loaner on engine 50 currently.
I did see that equipment. That's quite impressive.
It's
Quite
very
a step
impressive.
up.
It's, to me, one of the most incredible developments in the last 20 years in the fire service is the amount of force that those battery-operated tools can create. They are at the point where they're exceeding the old typical hydraulic systems. It's pretty incredible.
Council, anything else for the chief here?
I believe that, would it be fighter Suki came to our house?
Captain
Because-
Suki?
Yes, because we were going to have, my husband had a burning permit.
Yep,
And Suki came over and introduced himself and said he wanted to check out
yep.
what he was gonna burn, and I was quite impressed, actually.
We're actually, and to the mayor's point, we're using these compliance checks on the burn permits to actually do some of our recruitment as well. It's a good way for us in a non-emergency situation, not only so people can see the face of the fire department, but
Yeah.
engage in dialogue that maybe displays some opportunities that they can serve the community.
I
So-
was ready to join as soon as I landed. There's just nothing stopping me, actually. As soon as I'm done here, coming
Perfect.
over to you.
Perfect.
So you're saying people that have big fires in their backyard might be good candidates for the fire department? Is
Right,
that-
that's what I heard.
Allegedly.
Well, then my husband begged me joining.
Councilmember Rainville.
I echo Councilmember Blake. My husband came in and pulled a permit, and all of a sudden he says, the fire department's in the front, in the driveway, and it's like, and it was Captain Schrag, and we had a nice conversation with him, and it was nice to see that, so. And then I would, as far as recruitment, if you guys have a flyer or something.
We have not developed a flyer yet.
Okay, as soon as we do, then if we could get some copies and we can put it out at the farmer's market also.
We have a meeting with Chief Schrag next week, myself and Chief Lawrence. We're gonna continue to work through our punch list and again, just kind of level set. And again, my apologies, COVID was not a fun experience if anybody has gone through it. It kind of rocks your world a little bit, so we definitely need to take the time and do a level set and get back on track.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Alders.
So can you clarify, like, the policy for firefighters taking the emergency vehicle home and what they're using it for and where they can go with it? So I had a
Yes, sir.
citizen call me that said, why is this thing sitting at XYZ? And I'm like,
Yep,
I don't know, but I'll find out.
and Frank and I had conversations about it. Our policy is that when they're the duty officer and they're assigned to the vehicle, that they're with the vehicle. There is an expectation that they're not taking the vehicle and servicing all of their personal needs with the vehicle. In this particular incident, the person that was assigned to the vehicle at that time spent the day doing burn permit inspections, lives in the city of Ramsey, stopped at the grocery store for supplies for the station, also did pick up some personal items, dropped them off at home and reported back to the station. To me, that's all inclusive of business.
Fair.
Yes, that's fair.
Okay.
And I will tell you, in my 26 years in the fire service, these aren't uncommon complaints that get brought up.
Yeah.
99% of the time, there's nothing malicious or improper about the person's behavior.
Right.
But it does attract attention.
Well, I just want to make sure we're being transparent on what we're
Absolutely.
using it for.
Absolutely.
And, we do have a policy on that, and the policy's fairly broad. I don't know if it's been updated since we got a duty vehicle, but you know, the way it's written, I would say if you're bringing the grass rig home or you're bringing a rescue rig home, you know, that type of thing, if you're running errands with something, one of the bigger rigs, but the duty vehicle was purchased for the very purpose of having somebody in that at all
Correct.
times, so they're the first on scene and can identify how serious the situation is. So the fact that we do have firefighters and officers who live in Ramsey, you're gonna see a duty vehicle out of the city.
Correct.
And I live in Coon Rapids, I drive through 4 different cities, sometimes 5 on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Also, throughout my work week, I have several meetings that take me outside of Nowthen and St. Francis. The tone that typically, or the approach that typically calms people down is by outfitting our, especially the duty officer program with a take-home response vehicle. You're essentially getting a full-time firefighter for nothing. They're equipped to respond, they can respond quickly, and they can go directly to the scene. And while they're at home, we're not paying them. So that's a tremendous asset back to the city, and also certainly has an impact on those response times. And even at 11 minutes and 45 seconds for the month of May, if we look back at our report from last year, we averaged almost 15 minutes for a response time. So just by having this vehicle, we've already seen the impact that that's having on our response times. And in a lot of these emergencies, time is life, time is money, time is property, right? So the more that we can equip ourselves in an affordable fashion to do that, the better off every resident is served in this city.
Thanks for the clarity.
You're welcome, sir.
Really
Thank you.
good.
Anything else for the chief? All right, thank you, chief.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, have a good evening. Move on to, and by the way, I have to say, I appreciate the staff putting these books together. It certainly makes it easier to be efficient up here. I don't know if you guys have appreciated it, but I like being able to go right to the items, even if it's too heavy for Linda to lift, so. Planning and zoning. Consideration approval of final plat and development agreement for the Dryden Acres. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Here, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is the same RCA documents that were in the packet last month. We just tabled this together with the CDP so that the Drydens could be present. So this is a 4-lot plat, 3 buildable lots and an outlot. Lot with variance, 139 feet for lot 3 and development agreement. Our office recommends approval of the project. Did you have a 7A in your packet? I'm not seeing it. I got a 7B, C, and D.
I've got a 7A.
No, it's here.
Okay, good.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainville?
if there are no objections, I would move the approval of the final plan of Dryden Acres in variance to allow the lot width of 139 feet on Lot 3, Block 1, and the development agreement subject to the conditions as outlined in the attached findings of fact.
I second it.
A motion by Councilmember Rainville, second by Councilmember Blake. Any other comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Other than a long report you had to sit through, not a bad evening. All right. Approval of amended conditional use permit for extended home occupation, 6700 Viking Boulevard.
Mayor, members of the council, I did provide you a revised site plan tonight. The Drydens would like to move that line, the southerly line in the storage area, south to the limits of the blue there. And then you may have noted in the findings of fact that we put a number of 5,000 cubic yards for the amount of crushed concrete that they would be willing or able to bring into the site and store it temporarily and then reuse that. So that 10,000 square foot area, mounted about 13 feet high, is equal to 5,000 cubic yards. setback in our current ordinance for outdoor storage. But we have no idea when, so it's worded that if it's one house or a series of homes, that then that fence would be constructed. Everything else is in line. The two outstanding issues that we had were that screening and the crushed concrete number. If you have any concerns or thoughts about it, feel free to ask.
What kind of a fence is going to be put up?
Well, it's a screening fence, 6 feet high, minimum, just, has to be pretty much opaque.
All right, council, any other questions?
Only if and when the property be developed, all right?
Right.
Okay.
Across from the,
I feel that's fair because there's a lot of existing natural vegetation.
Right.
yeah, right.
I would be hard pressed if anybody knew they were back there.
Exactly.
So. All right, anything else? Council? I'll accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor? I'll
Councilmember
make a
Alders?
motion to approve the amended CUP for the Dryden's excavating business on the 10-acre parcel identified as Lot 3, Block 1, Dryden Acres, subjects to the condition as outlined in the findings of fact.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Alders, second from Councilmember Rainville. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainville.
I would just say I am their neighbor and I don't know that they're there, so that's.
So there you go.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry.
Yeah.
All right, all those, Planner Stockman.
Take your vote, go ahead, I'm sorry.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I just want to
Thank you again.
ask them if, did the plat get approved by the county yet or not?
No, the county attorney, we're merging Torrance and Abstract,
Oh, right.
and the Torrance, the county attorney is just really making sure that all the i's are dotted.
Okay, we'll just want to know when,
So I didn't do that, I didn't do the Mylars, because I'm like, they're so expensive.
Oh, right.
So wait till they get all the verbiage done and, so then we'll sign those.
Okay, thanks for coming, thank you for working on
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yes, thank you.
Item C, approval of final plat for Country View Acres, second edition.
Mayor, members of council, there's just 2 minor changes to this final plat. They added outlot B, which is a tiny little corner of the neighbor's driveway on the north side of the cul-de-sac. And then you had a buildable area exhibit that, since they added 2 small wetlands after the technical evaluation panel met on site. So lot 3 has those 2 small wetlands sort of in the middle of the lot. So a portion of the buildable area on the revised plan had been in the setback area, and I like it not to be in the setback area so that we can maximize the usable area. So other than that, everything is in order for this final plat, and there's no development agreement since there's no public improvements at all.
Okay, you guys good?
Pardon?
You guys are good with it?
We're good with that? Yeah.
All right, I'll accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Blake.
I make a motion to approve the final plat for Country View Acres, second edition, and buildability exhibit subject to the conditions outlined in the findings of fact.
I have a motion by Councilmember Blake,
I'll second it.
second by Councilmember Alders. Any other questions? Discussion. Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for your patience tonight, too.
These meetings are pretty regular.
Yeah.
I'm sure you learned a lot tonight, so it was well worth your time.
You should see how many likes we get on
Yeah, don't
YouTube.
speed up. Don't be speeding down the road.
After 2 weeks, don't speed.
Yeah. All right, Planner Stockman code enforcement update.
So it's been a while since we provided an update and just wanted to chat a little bit about what priorities we should be focusing on and also the sort of timeline within which you want to see the updates, whether you want to do it quarterly or monthly again. I did end up meeting with Daniel Ortel on Monday. There has been some improvement out there. He did make application for a demolition permit. He's still trying to figure out how he can build a house and attach it to that existing garage. It's kind of at the forward of the property. But that's yet to be seen, so at least he's working with us. He's got a couple, I guess, friends, if you want to call them that help to communicate with me. And it's been, yeah, there has been some improvement there.
So let's just stop there real quick. So if you take a look in your packet here, Anoka County Parcel Viewer, you see the Daniel Hotel overhead. So there's a, for those of you who aren't familiar, this has been ongoing history for quite a while. There were some problems with there's a house, so on the bottom of the Ortel is the L-shaped piece there in the middle, 20930.
Got a lot of trees.
Yeah, so down in the bottom of that picture, that's the garage. Where,
No, that's the.
is that the old house?
That's the old foundation.
Okay, so the garage is which one then?
The garage is the next one north,
White.
kind of under the trees there. And then the pole barn is the other one, the other building out there.
Okay, so this house had some problems, and it came down to basically a basement with a roof over it. And there was not an application in the required time to get it rebuilt. So it doesn't meet the setbacks from the street, and I'm not sure it meets setbacks to the south either.
I think it does on that side,
But a very nice garage was built between that and the pole building. And he's been trying to figure out for some time how to build a house attached to that. It's got a lot of property, and I'm still seeing some vehicles out in those woods. Is
yes,
that-
yeah, some of them are now gone. This is from 2020, the aerial view.
Well, this one says 5/31/2022. Is
Well,
that
that's
just
the
when it's
date you
printed?
it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's that big semi sort of in the northwest corner. It needs to come out. There's a couple other like box trucks that used to have people living in them. Those have to come out, and there's an old camper. But the day I was there, they were trying to get all the tires road ready so they can all be hauled away. And
Let me ask Liz, when we had people living in these various trucks and campers and things in this woods, it was kind of an interesting place. Sheriff was out there quite a bit. Has that calmed down?
that seems to have been resolved. Yeah, there were squatters out there. There were, drug issues and such. But since the property to the north sold, that used to be another problem property, 21010. There's a new home going on there, up there. It's just about done, it looks like. Now, Mr. Ortel, the reason there's so many trees is he used to have a tree farm business here.
Oh.
And he actually made application for a variance because there's no house here. I told him he couldn't have a business. He made application for a variance, and I instructed Adrian to send it back and not accept it. That he had to move forward with cleanup and the house, a legal residence before we consider him to start a home business. So the biggest challenges are removing the vehicles and whether or not he can add on to that garage and meet our minimum area and of 1,200 square feet. And also you cannot skinny addition, I think, if you did anything. But I gave him 3 weeks to put something together, and, you know, we're trying to work on the specific dates and deadlines now.
Just because we happen to have this image in front of us, the 21010, all those stranded vehicles around there, is that part of the cleanup with the new owner?
That was a big eyesore in conjunction with Ortel's, but now that that's been sold, you know, of course, that guy doesn't want to look at junk to the south of him, and then we've had other complaints from people across the highway, so I feel like we are making progress. I mean, if you feel satisfied with that for now, we can touch base, you know, in a month or two.
Yep.
But yeah, you know, the next step is citation after citation, if he doesn't comply, so. And I don't think we'd ever give him a building permit or B, a certificate of occupancy until it was cleaned up and until that other foundation was torn out.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Blake?
okay, I'm kind of new to this whole process, but I'm wondering, this, when some of these people's complaints or citations or whatever you want to call them date back to 2013 and 2016, and how long do we just keep doing this
Well,
before something has to be done?
it's a valid point. You know, it's always a case where it's one step ahead, one step back, or 2 steps ahead, 1 step back. You know, it's just been never ending.
So is this common in all communities that you have these issues, you bring them up, but there doesn't seem to be a resolution?
Well, I mean, the citation process, and then, you know, whether or not the city is gonna go further than that and actually abate the nuisance or the violation, which means to clean it up, that can be very costly, so.
For the city to do it?
For the city to do
Yeah,
it,
right.
and then assess them.
But I mean, if you have neighbors that are calling and complaining about something, and
Right.
we let it sit there for years and years and years, that doesn't make sense either, does it? Mayor?
Oh, it's been an issue for a long time. That's where this report, this spreadsheet started coming from. And that was one of the questions, and actually Liz has revitalized this, but if you remember, this was one of the things we were working on last summer.
Yeah.
And, you know, part of it is, how do you enforce? You know, we don't have a lot of personnel to chase these things down, and so we're looking at how to identify health and safety issues first and foremost, and go after those. And those people that are cooperative, generally, a word to the wise, they work it out. What we've focused on is those that say, yeah, I know I'm in violation, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Then the council has to decide, what do we as a council want to do? Do we start the
And I suppose
citation process?
The cost is to,
Well, we'll pay an attorney, we'll pay Liz, we'll pay.
yes, I mean, that's why we sit on it, because it's just way too
we-
expensive.
No, generally we try and give people the opportunity to,
I know, but if it's 2013, we've given them a lot of opportunity. 2016, I mean, I'm looking at these dates. I can understand if it's happened in 2020, but a lot of these dates go way back, 2012 even. So we've given them a lot of opportunity, or don't you agree with me?
no,
You don't?
we've given them opportunity. And in some cases, if you go back through the history of this, the original notice, maybe back in 2016 or 2013, but there were also times we didn't follow up for quite a while.
Okay.
And so if you see, if the last contact that Liz had with the property owner The first one was 2019, October 2021, September 21, and a couple of them are much more current. So there is actually a much bigger list than this of people you've had contact with. I mean, you gave us a selected version, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the ones that were resolved, the process was to remove those after each month.
So you've resolved the rest of that big list.
Yeah, we've taken care of quite a few. Now-
So this
Good
list
for
used
you,
to be
good for you.
much, much bigger than this.
Mr. Mayor, you know, I don't know if this is the time, but I know that Harvey Greenberg's property is being taken care of. They put out a ask for several people in the church to go help and sort things through on those semis and get those all taken care of. They want to have a sale, they want to get rid of, so they're working hard on that. Their daughters, they're working on that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I think that one will come.
Do you have her number, by the way?
I
know?
do.
Afterwards, could you maybe text that to me? 'Cause
I could.
trying to
All
get
I
in
gotta
touch
do
with
is
her, but-
remember.
The number that I have is not good anymore. So.
Yeah, she's over there a lot now.
Okay.
Called the other day. The daughter Shirley, she's a very nice person. She called the other day, wanted to borrow our lawnmower, but our lawnmower was in the shop, so we couldn't help, but, and the church just sent something out asking how many, that all of us, as many as possible, go over and help this weekend with it.
Nice.
So I think this is gonna change over there.
All right, so
Frank has a-
what's our ask? And, so one of the things the value of an RCA is background information, and then what's the ask and who's going to do what by when. And that's the value of that. So what are we looking at here? Eisenshanks, you've given us an update. There's some activity there, so at this point, let that ride and see what they're going to get done? Or
Yeah.
they're looking for help?
Let's finish with Ortel.
Okay.
I would recommend that we chat about sort of a deadline date for, this demo and getting the outdoor storage cleaned up. Because without a home, any outdoor storage is not permitted, especially vehicles. Now, the two ways to go, if I can talk a little bit about abatement. The reason it's so costly is that, you pay the people to go in and then they have to store the items for a period of time so that the owner has a chance to reclaim them. But you could also go sort of the criminal route and have Kurt Blazer take it over. Maybe should we bring back an agreement of some kind that states dates for the specific tasks on the action plan?
I would like to go that route. He's applied for a demolition permit. That dilapidated foundation was the biggest problem for the longest time with the people living in there. If he can give us, he's got a permit, give us a time frame on eliminating the dilapidated foundation and hauling off the vehicles. We can address the house on a separate issue. The main thing right now is get the vehicles off the property so we don't have squatters and we don't have drug houses popping up again. Get rid of the foundation. Certainly that would show promise and show that he's actually getting something done. And get a time frame on that that's aggressive.
Okay.
Council agree?
Yes.
Okay. And then see where we go from there.
Okay. And then Eisenshank, they were looking for some assistance with possibly the removal of some tires. Well, not some, like almost 75 truck tires probably. She has to get the semi-trailers off the property. Let's see, this is the one on Old Viking. Do I have a picture?
So let me, yeah, you do. Let me ask on the tires. So we made an arrangement with the mosquito control at our last recycling day. And while Adrian wasn't overly thrilled with the timing of everything, the fact is, I would think this is exactly what mosquito control wants. These are sitting outside, probably most of them, or would be outside if they get rid of those semi-trailers. So I think it's a reasonable thing to check our contacts at mosquito control and see if we can get a truck over there.
Okay.
Because that would go a long way towards getting rid of those tires. I know Mr. Ortel used to drag trailer loads, semi-loads up and do it himself, but
Well, do they send guys though? I mean,
they send people over with a truck to pick up.
Okay.
And so that's what Adrian was saying. The agency is one, they contract out to somebody to go pick up.
Oh, I see.
And that's what took a while. So now Adrian has the contact information for the people who do the pickup. And Frank, if you could kind of help guide that through, because Adrian does have some opinions on that.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember
also
Raymond.
the tires that mosquito or MCD, mosquito control district will pick up have to be unrimmed.
Yes, these
So
are,
they're unrimmed?
yeah.
Well, that's a step in the right direction. That's what I
When
was
we started doing
recommending.
this,
Oh,
Yeah.
he literally had multiple semi-loads that we were taking in.
Yeah.
It was, if you look at the picture, this is tremendously better than when we first started this years ago.
I
But,
think I know where this is. Does he have animals in the project?
No.
no,
It's right in the corner of Jasper.
Mr. Mayor,
Well, Becky.
Frank,
Oh,
there may be a limitation on the tire size
Right.
that mosquito
That
control will
will
take.
take.
I don't know that for certain, but I seem to remember something about that.
Mr.
And
there was something that was at recycling day, if we took money for them, they wouldn't take them, and we were taking
That's
money
right.
for the
Yeah.
big truck tires, and I think that,
Oh, maybe that
because
was
later
it.
they came back and took truck tires, and I asked Adrian why, and she, because we didn't collect money for those.
Oh, okay.
So,
Maybe that's.
I thought it was the size, but it appears that if you take money, we don't take.
Mr.
They're yours. Councilmember
Mayor.
Raymond.
Yeah, mosquito control district's policy is if a governmental agency accepts money for the tires, they will not come get them. If we accept them at no charge, what they need is a differentiation between passenger tires and larger tires, because it's two different vendors, and they go to two different locations. So that's why they need to know whether they're all from Ford Escorts or semis and, gardening or farming equipment and such, so.
I would say just by looking, these are mostly truck tires.
Okay. So that would be a question to them, is what size? They just kind of gave me general, and so we set aside.
Again, if we can get rid of the tires, that would be good. And again, it sounds like if we can do that, she's willing to, with her brother, get
Yeah,
back in progress here.
She and he were both working outside that day I stopped, so that was nice.
it's probably overwhelming.
Yeah.
It is, and she does need to get those semis out of there because of the insurance issue. So.
You should have seen it when he was alive.
You couldn't see through the property. Couldn't.
It's on Jasper and,
It's in the corner of Jasper and Bethany.
Okay, so you got direction there?
Okay.
So that'll be
Right.
a team with,
Before the public.
with Frank and Adrian on that?
oh,
It's right
It's
here.
on the south side of it.
All right. Mr. Larson. This is on Jasper, 190th.
Jasper's got problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's between 90 and 100 cars back there. It's really,
Oh,
really bad.
did he have a junkyard at one time?
he's still got.
Maybe presently.
He had,
Like a hoarding situation, like cars or whatever, but it's like he can't part with them, so we're gonna have to do something different.
a little iffy on the south there, too.
Yeah. No complaint there, though.
Mr. Mayor?
They wouldn't dare. Yeah. Councilmember Raymond.
To Ms. Stockman, did we not have an agreement in place with Mr. Larson that said he had to get, dispose of so many vehicles per month, and with the understanding that no new vehicles were to be brought in? Can we just revise that to say we're back to
Can't they
enforcement?
get money for those? I mean,
I'm gonna, yes, he He has, the ones he's gotten rid of, he's just all just for scrap. I think he sold a couple or whatever, but, yes, I believe he was originally supposed to get rid of like 10 to 12 a month.
Yeah.
But he's not on the list anymore. Where's him?
So.
Yeah, he is.
We can try citing him every 2 weeks, because you send the citation, and then you wait 2 weeks to see if you get paid, and then send another one, so we could try that route for, 6 or 8 weeks and see if we get any action, but I just feel like he does 1 or 2, and then he just kind of quits, so.
Well, I'd like to revive, given this has been many years. We had a plan, we had a schedule. I think we need to reinforce it and say, this is what we agreed to, what's changed? And if not, then I think at this point, obviously after 5 years, nothing's changed, or I don't know if he's added.
He was in the HVAC business, and, he brings home some of that junk that you see kind of on the north side by that white pole barn.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, but I don't think he's brought in new cars, or not many if he has, but they've all been out in the long grass for decades.
Oh, yeah, look at him.
Yeah, they might actually be valuable if the steel doesn't start flowing.
Well, they're certainly not gaining value sitting out there.
There's a lot of stuff
And they're
there.
probably polluting the land. So, okay, well,
Island's a good place for a hoarder.
I'll meet with him and then report back on what, unless you want to take it or have, talk about it with Kurt Claver or something.
Why don't you pull out the agreement, talk to him, because Kurt's going to want to know what we've done recently. And we've certainly showed patience, but if he agrees to start working again, otherwise we'll have to talk about what Kurt can do. But that was the problem we had with some of these other properties when we were going to remediate them ourselves. It was how long we'd have to store everything to see if it's not as easy as just tearing down a building and assessing the cost. All right, so those are the Ortel, Larson, and Eisenshank that you brought up here. What else did you want to bring up at this point for direction?
Let's see, there was a couple I indicated on the orange column on the far right. This question, let's see. Well, in some of them, for instance, 6304 Old Viking. I mean, that's been out there. He's got, let me see. Overhead.
Don Bittinger?
Yeah, 6304 is right after the one we were talking about. So he's got mostly like metal, like farm equipment, and he used to make like sculptures and things. So it's kind of all sitting around. I mean, it's a big property. It's not necessarily an eyesore. We haven't had any complaints, but I don't know that you just want to let it go either, because if you're.
Well, let me ask, because the one we had previously, we mentioned that if you look at the bottom of the picture, it looks as cluttered as the top of the picture, but you said we had no complaints.
Right.
And this one on Old Viking, he does, I don't know if he's still using it as sculpting. I know he's been fairly active in that. But if we're not getting complaints at this point,
We leave it.
huh?
We leave it.
Yeah, I mean, the complaint was quite a long time ago.
What's that?
His sister lives across the street.
That's typically the way we've been operating. If people aren't complaining, because if we change that now, there's
This
a
list will be
large
all
percentage of
cluttered.
properties here that But again, one of the advantages of having large sheltered property, if it isn't bothering the neighbors, because you go up and down Old Viking, there's a lot of farmsteads with a lot of equipment. There's a lot of non-farmsteads with a lot of equipment. That's an old part of town that I would say at this point, if we're not getting complaints, let's stick with the ones we are. Get them taken care of first.
I agree.
Okay, so if I know that, just move it down.
Yep. You know, we've got history on it, and if it's revised. if it-
Freezer in our backyard.
The same thing for the next one down, 5380, 199.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Rainville?
was that not one a public safety issue, though?
Which one?
That part of it was resolved.
It was, okay.
That was how it started.
Yeah.
When Andy Schrader was here, the house had issues. And then they were required to repair that.
That is all done, all right. Okay.
So this one is fairly minimal compared to the others we've looked at. This one is right north of the car sales lot on St. Francis Boulevard.
You know, the one thing about that, though, again, if you go back to the agreement,
24th.
if I recall right, we had a fencing. They had stuff, but they were gonna hide it. Is that the one just north of the Burns Auto?
Yeah, I don't remember that though for this site.
Because they had a fence, but it's kind of blown apart.
They have a fence between the two properties, kind of, you mean?
Now, on 47 and,
Oh, are you thinking of the one across 199?
Yeah.
No, this
you're
one.
thinking behind it?
Yeah, this is behind.
Okay,
Yeah, that one.
That one-
Picking us, I'm on that one. Yeah.
okay.
Bell Street?
Here again, was there a complaint on this one?
No, not in the last, whatever, 5 years probably.
All right, so let's stick with taking care of making sure we're dealing with complainers.
Okay,
We like complainers.
so same, move down the next one down, 18585 Cleary Road. Mr. Johnson has the roll-off business.
Yeah, you just look at all the property bordering that. It's like,
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
the street.
if he wouldn't bring home the stuff, it wouldn't be a problem. Some of it, I feel like he tries to sort out himself, maybe get cash for metal or something, but, I mean, generally, he's, you know, not a problem resident, he's helpful to other people, but,
And how are you on the complaint? Because out front, other than that area in front of the shed there where he's got some debris, generally from the front of the house, you don't see much. I mean, you have to take a long hike to get in the back to see where he's got the stuff. How are the neighbors handling that?
well, there is a new owner right to the south. He's been very reasonable. He did make a complaint that Bob was burning too much. And I think Bob, ceased doing that as often. So there hasn't really been any new complaints at all.
All right,
So we move past that one?
Yeah.
what's that, Jason?
So move past that one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Curtis?
Yeah, so the next one that we're all familiar with on Nowthen Boulevard
There's an
there.
awful lot of activity there, but nothing ever seems to get, there was a dumpster there recently, and
This is
It-
my struggle.
you just can't see
It-
change.
Like I said, one step forward, one step back, but, I do think they've done some. They have only two inoperable vehicles left over there. There were quite a few more.
There's progress being made though there, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and
better
they're
than it
trying,
was,
right?
yeah.
So it has a lot to do with other issues, so, yeah, it is a. I
So,
have-
so let's go with this one, keep encouraging them to,
Like right past.
we're on it, keep help, do what we
I'll
can to
keep
encourage them.
stopping. I just
Oh,
randomly
yeah.
stop.
Just past the church, that
And I've
place
been
right
telling
there.
her, just put things behind the buildings, not
She on
right
the
out
left-hand
there
side?
driveway.
That's the amazing part, it's like, just
Yeah.
be more discreet, but they did have a dumpster out in the driveway, and they seemed to fill it, I just couldn't see
on the corner.
where it came from.
Poor Bob.
So, yeah,
Huh?
Johnson too.
yeah. Mr. Mayor, I mean, they have tried to, they've made some effort, but then the contractor that they contracted with that dropped the dumpster, they didn't get paid, because he called me and asked if the city had funds, and I said, we don't have a fund for that, and, and he still, I think, was willing to go out there again, trying to help them, but, yeah, he's lost money.
Well, there again, sometimes, and I do think that this is an appropriate involvement for churches, but they were attending a church and they were getting help from, physical help from the church, and it just seems to make sense that, if they want to call on people that are in their faith community, maybe they can at least pull together the money to pay the vendor and do it again, but
Right.
they might be amenable to that conversation, I don't know. But it's pretty hard to ask people to rent you a dumpster and then not pay them for it, so.
So the next one, 5833 North Lake Road, they just got a citation.
That's a big building. And their citation was,
What, amount wise, you mean?
huh? What was the citation for? What's the
Oh,
violation?
For 5833 North Lake. The house is vacant, and there's inoperable vehicles, inoperable truck. I believe they've long been storing business equipment in the shed there. I heard from neighbors that the house is uninhabitable because of mold and other issues. I don't know.
How big is this property?
It's only, I think like 5 acres or maybe 6.
9.65.
It says 9.65, it's almost 10.
My computer thing.
All right, so are those both storage buildings?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
But no one lives there.
well, the problem is it's under 10 acres, and I'm gonna guess that's more square footage than they're allowed on less than 10 acres.
Right, and those are quite old buildings, so that may have, I don't
Grandfather.
know, they were there before this guy bought. But yes, not only does he not live there, he used to have renters, so then that would be a no-no too, for any business equipment or materials. Yeah.
But he was cited?
He was cited, I believe, $800.
He lives in Roseville?
Mhm. He spoke to me one time, and then now he just refuses to come, so I'm just done trying to.
So again, we go after the public safety, and in this one, where we may not be getting complaints, but we have an uninhabitable house, we have a potentially illegal business, that to me,
That looks like a big house.
and you have somebody who's not living here trying to make a go of it. They're renting out probably all 3 of the buildings, if they can, so.
Yeah, I want.
This one, I say we go after and get aggressive on.
Agreed, I think so, especially when they're not cooperating or doing anything.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainville?
I know, from past employment, the city I work for has a large file on him and his doings and such, so, and he is not one to adhere to the norms of,
I could tell that,
yeah.
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. He was.
I think I've read that name in the paper.
Well, yeah, I mean, even back when you lived in the city.
All right.
All right,
Looking for some advice on 20475 Broad Street. When I spoke, well, first of all, for those of you that don't know, this was a gentleman who has a container on his property. It used to be in the front. We only allow containers for 6 months. So then we found out that he stores fireworks. And that he met with the mayor and Ms. Rainville and Lori Strykel last year, I think, no, 2019, about how we could accommodate this container. He has since moved it behind the coal shed. But the ATF states that he is not licensed to store fireworks on the property. So I'm not getting a, I guess, good feeling about it, and I would like to maybe get to the bottom of what is legal and what's not legal, and then, I mean, I know he's done some things for the city, and I don't wanna just poo-poo it, but, you know, he's gotta follow the rules also. So any, input you would like to offer?
Is he,
Appreciate it.
have you confirmed he's storing fireworks in there?
No, we have never met up on site.
Yeah, I would confirm that, because I would be surprised that he would do that. If he's part of that organization, they're pretty regulated on
Well,
explosives.
Yeah, I have conflicting emails. Maybe I will just wait and I'll put some information together and get some more details and then bring it back.
Yeah, let's do that, and ask him, is he storing fireworks in there? I mean, it's,
Well, he doesn't like me, but I'll take it, so I'll try to get a hold of him. I do believe I have his number. I'll try to set up a site meeting
okay.
before next month. Next one, Mr. Williams, 195th Lane. This is a complaint that goes back to when that four-lot.
Do we have
Where's that one?
Pardon me?
Where's that
Oh,
picture?
did I not include
It's
that?
not,
No.
no.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look, you want to just wait on that one? I didn't,
So what's the status? I mean,
well, that complaint goes back to when we had that posted, that four-lot subdivision on Burns Parkway, and he backs up to that. We haven't had any complaints since. There has been some improvement in the front yard, cleaning up, but, he does have stuff running around the back, and vehicles and such, but, why don't I just plan to meet with him and maybe get some photos and kind of go from there?
Okay.
See where we're at.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Rainville?
and that resident, I know in the last 4, if not 5, of the recycle days, the Spring Falls recycle days, has brought up trailers full of stuff. So I know he's been making progress, and even back after COVID, when council was staffing the recycle center, he came in numerous times when I was there and was getting rid of things. But he is facing some health issues. But he has, I think, made great progress there.
Oh, that's great, because he didn't tell me that, so,
Yeah.
okay. I could tell by looking from the street, but I haven't been back there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great.
I'm not saying it's empty, but he was making progress, so.
Okay, well, we'll just hold off maybe. Otherwise,
Otherwise, it looks like you're active on these,
the last one I'd just like to ask you about is that 18288 Nowthen Boulevard. It's the big property that, I forget the property owner's name now.
Stokequist.
Yeah, well, Spokecrest owns it.
Oh, the
Previous.
Leonard?
Leonard, what's the last name? Anyway. But, you know, Mr. Stoker's bought this pretty much as a recreational parcel. You know, he put up a illegal building, it's still there. The shed that you see from the street, I think it's red, that's legal. He did tear the old house down. But, you know, I don't know, you can't really see this small building, he just stores.
Yeah, you can, probably now that the trees are in, you can't, but in the wintertime you.
Yeah, when you go by, kind of look down the driveway, but, you know, he thinks it's ridiculous, but what I've told him is, look, I get calls all the time for people wanting to put up a shed before a house. And I say no, because it's not allowed. So why should we allow you to keep this building? You know, it's not fair.
Did he clean the property up?
He took
Because it
the
was
old
quite a
house
mess.
down.
You took the house down,
And the
and
kids kept, breaking in.
there were a lot of
There's
partying.
a lot of stuff going
That
left out there.
area that's all dug out in the back there, when they put in Viking Boulevard, they bought all his sand. Leonard Skinner? Anyway.
Well, it looks a lot better.
So when they dug it all
Driving
out, then the kids started partying
It's
back
a
there.
lot cleaner looking and neater looking for the city.
Yeah, the last 5 years, it definitely has.
Once he put the secure gate up there and the kids weren't back there partying all the time, they had mattresses and tires and.
I know, and so
But the
someone
problem
had to
is,
clean that
when
up.
they excavated below grade from the roadway.
Mhm.
So to remediate that actually has to have fill brought in to bring it up to grade, so it's not lower than the roadway. So he's cleaned up, but I don't think any other remediation's ever been done.
Well, they still have a mining permit going, you know, I mean, it's out there, it's not been revoked or anything. So that would be something to address as part of our CP process, but, so the question is, do we just sit on it, do you want me to?
Well, it looks like you haven't talked to him since 2019.
No.
So let's refresh it and see where we're at. Does that make sense?
But I'd say if you have someone who betters the property, I mean, we have to follow regulations, but someone who betters the property is not, all these others we're talking about, they're making huge messes that they won't clean up. This guy cleaned the place up. So, I mean, that's in his favor. And I'd rather see that than what we're dealing with these other people that are just keep adding more junk in their yards and make it an eyesore.
Yeah, so we did try to send a notice last year and it was returned, so not sure. I mean, the next step there would be a citation, because he's received the letter and then the notice. So, do you want me to go that far, or?
Well, what do you want him to do?
Well, technically, you should remove the building, but.
Yeah, I don't know what he's got in that building that he couldn't store in the front one.
Yeah, I don't know. Just
Well, I'd see if you can get a hold of him, see what his current status is.
Okay.
Remind him of that. The one I want to bring up is Yakima 18660. Because we've gotten a couple complaints on that. Now we've got a brand new road down there. We're bringing semis in, and we've gotten 2 complaints. That one and the metal
Which one?
facility. This is on this sheet.
It's on what sheet is it?
On the fold-out sheet.
The second page, about the middle of the page, Yakima Street.
I don't have a second page.
No, it's just on this one. Second page of the packet. 3rd page, actually.
Yeah, it's this, but Yakima is not on the.
No, Yakima's not on here.
How many pages is that worth?
Oh,
Page 2.
I don't have page 1, that's why.
And we don't have
I
page.
was gonna say, that's why I thought the list was so much shorter, I thought.
Well,
I've only
just
got
to
page 1.
summarize, it's,
Okay, so some of us don't have page 1, so I thought that's why I thought the list was so greatly reduced.
so this is just a residence where the guy was bringing a semi home. He was sent a citation, I believe, last year, and he paid it. He called me and said he would be storing it off-site. Well, then the residents have seen him again. But I've gone out there 3 times and have not been able to validate that he's parking it there again. I've gone in the evening, I've gone during the day.
When we were rebuilding the road last year, he flew by me.
Oh, he did?
I was standing there talking with the construction people, and they said, and the neighbors said, "That's the guy." And he stopped us. So when are you gonna have this road done? And so we did get a complaint again this year that we've got the brand new road, and they're worried that the semi's gonna beat it up.
Well, another citation might wake him up, and that would be what the next step would be, yeah.
And the other one that came in this last week was in that same neighborhood. There's I'm assuming it's permitted, but there's a metal fab place of some sort in there.
That's permitted.
The problem is because Waco is so bad to the south coming through Ramsey, and now they've got this beautiful new road to the north. He's not coming in through Ramsey anymore, which was part of the permit, was
I think it was.
how he could come in. But now he's using the new road. And the people that just paid for that new road are not happy with that.
I'll call them.
So I know we just did some patching, are doing patching on our part of Waco.
I don't have the address, but I'll,
Can you send it to me?
yeah, I'll send it.
Precision South.
Okay, so,
So let's call it a night on this. You've got some action items. Let's get everybody with page 1 and 2, and then we can take a look at that and then talk about it at a future meeting again if there's. Again, let's take a look at the ones you can do something about. Again, primarily looking at complaints and public safety, health and safety. Okay with the council?
You
Sounds
bet.
good.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
sorry, thank you.
Councilmember Rainbow.
you'd asked about how often council would like to get the updates on these, and I would like monthly at the meetings. I don't know what.
Yeah,
the
we don't
rest
have
of
to
the council-
necessarily, I think if we get in our packet like we have,
Yeah.
we can send a note to Frank saying we would like more information on this one and address this one. So
Otherwise.
rather than go
we
through
don't
2
have to
pages
do them
of these.
all, but
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, so the council, when you get your packet, if you see some that you want more information on, contact Frank. And we'll go from there.
But the other thing too is, I mean, if you were able to miraculously get those 80 cars out of there, you can say it's done.
Yeah.
You know, let us know the good news.
Certainly.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Blake.
Frank keeps raising his hand.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Just point of information, I didn't hear. Monthly, quarterly?
Monthly within the packet.
So each council meeting, we will have an agenda item on this topic. That's what you want?
It could just be in the consent unless somebody wants to pull it out.
Well, you don't even have to approve it.
No,
Well,
yeah.
there's not necessarily an action item. She's just saying, I want to see this list. I want to be able
Oh,
to take
so
it.
Yeah.
it will have a
See
permanent
progress.
spot then,
Yeah.
basically, for, okay.
Yep.
It'd be just a receive and file, or just email out to
I was
us.
gonna say,
Yeah.
maybe it's better just to keep it
Yes.
off the agenda.
That's fine,
Yes.
yep.
Okay, so yeah, so send it out as an information, and if somebody sees something on the spreadsheet that they want, they call you, Frank, and said, I'd like this put on there to discuss this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just
Yeah, that's a
a
good
monthly
idea.
update.
Information, yeah, that's great.
Okay. So how about if I know I should have paid more attention to this. We bumped the addition to 8C, the moratorium update. Why don't we just let Liz finish up move that up to now, if everybody's okay with that?
Oh, moratorium, thank you. So, I believe I mentioned, maybe it was at P and Z that, not sure if that was signed in July or August of last year. Either way, we're nearing that year that the moratorium was set for that period of time.
So, number one, Frank, can you check and see when we did sign that moratorium, please?
And then we should probably bring a document back at your July meeting to extend that at least a couple of months till we can finalize our
And we
document.
can extend it, and we don't have to take the full extension. soon as we get the document back from P and Z and we'll finalize it, we'll just wrap it up at that point. But just to cover, so we don't lose our moratorium, we get an opportunity legally to extend it.
Yeah.
So let's put that on July to extend that, and then we'll have an update on where the moratorium sits with P and Z. Council okay with that?
Perfect.
All right. Now, we'll go on to the paint by numbers, item 8.
Is there an extra copy that I can, or I guess I don't need?
Oh,
My computer.
Paint by number item?
Yeah, I think I know.
do you want me to get to the one from the back?
Should have got it. Mayor, members, may I?
Yes.
Mayor, members of the council, we're asking you tonight simply to review the process for bringing items to the city council, in what format, with which attachments, so that we have an organized way of going through this. And one of the reasons is I've realized how radically that I've gone back and forth in terms of giving you some items 10 days before, rarely. Most items maybe 3-4 days before. And so we should have an organized process that we use. Secondly, we've noted as these packets get bigger, and this is not a contest that I'm trying to conduct with myself or other city administrators, but as we have more items to discuss, it's easier to get lost on items. And so the idea is to try and find a means to make it easier for you to keep these things right. Now, I realize we made some mistakes already in this packet. There were reports that should have been in there that I can see weren't. So it's a work in progress for us as well. But let's move to the agenda items. First of all, the RCA's, request for council action. Are there revisions that you want to see to that document? It's a very, very useful document. I can tell you that from having worked in a number of cities and the formats they use. This is very to the point. It hits the high points. There are a couple of things we don't use. Doesn't mean they can't be used. We just don't use them. I'll indicate what they are. The clerk's use, we don't do that largely because we have resolutions on almost everything now. And we take minutes, which record the same kind of information. Administrative department use there in the lower left corner, we do generally put down whether it's consent or regular, but we really don't have to do that because now your agenda sheet tells you which category it's in. But we can continue to do it that way. Support documents attached, we try to do that so that, oh yeah, this is a resolution we're supposed to be adopting in this particular item, or no, this is a contract we're reviewing. And then finally refer to table tell. I'm sure that has use, but this seems to be a council of action. Not too many things get tabled. If they do, they kind of stand out in their own way. So my question to you first is, are there revisions you want to make to the RCA that make it better for you and for the public to understand what it is we're doing?
So let me address, first of all, I brought this to the city based on another city that was using it. So I think that the template, we just grabbed what they had. So they were a larger city than we are, and maybe this made more sense for their clerk to do this. Yeah, obviously, they had a clerk separate from the administration, and maybe they did refer this to another entity or another department, or more often, we don't table much. So I think part of that was just it came in the template. I do think that the key components of it is the background and supplemental information puts things in context. So I think that's obviously critical, tell us what we're doing and why. I think the source of funding, we had mentioned it would be nice to actually go to the fund account or to the code, so that the people who write this up know where it's coming. It's going to make much more accurate from an accounting standpoint, not just general fund, but this particular account. So that, people would need to be aware of chart of accounts, but I think it could be educated fairly quickly. when you're writing it up, if you don't know, then you give Natalie a call and say, what chart of account am I using here? She generally will be asking you, you know. And then what's the action required? And what's being requested? And then I think it's appropriate to say, as part of this, who do we expect to do it and by when? You know, because that's really what sums it up, and that way it's easy to follow up. You can put in a tickler file saying, this is a public works issue and it's going to be done by, we had this last year, we had a road project and the RCA in the body of it said by the end of bituminous season, you know, by the time, before the bituminous plants are done. But it was unclear, and it was like, do we need to do this right away? And it was actually probably a 2-month window, but it wasn't clear because it was lost in the background information. So I think, you know, the action requested, who's going to do it, you know, who's responsible to do it and by when, certainly would make this a useful tool.
Those additions.
And that's my opinion. I don't know whether the other council members have that. I do think, again, cleaning up something that's replicated already in our meeting minutes, I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, it was a template I borrowed from in other cities. Other comments from council?
Mr. Mayor?
And again, we don't have to have it all tonight, but we certainly want to be thinking about this so it can be upgraded. Councilmember Rainville.
I like those changes, and as the mayor said, when this was brought forward and I retyped it as they did it, you know, as the other cities did. So one of the things that I would, just a clarification, so under request for council action number 1, all city council meeting actions with the exception of those listed under city council require the preparation of an RCA form. Well, now there are times that things come in under the city council that should have an RCA. So I would say when applicable, then we need to have an RCA. If it's not needed, then if it's just an FYI, receive file, an update, that would not need an RCA. But if it's something we have to act upon that isn't under one of the other numbered topics, then we should have an RCA.
I agree. If we're asking the council for action, we should give context and ask, and what is the ask? What do we expect to be done? So I agree.
So in essence, an RCA, if you want to put something on the agenda, you better put together an RCA, even if it's a report.
I would
Just trying to
say, to say that this is a receive and file, or, you know, just FYI, just so that we know what it is we're looking at.
Which would make it pretty simple. Background information, see the
Yep.
attached, here's what I want you to do with it.
Yep.
This is for your information. But
And under the agenda item, where if you're going to remove the administrative department use, that could, you know, be adapted to say consent, or, well, not, yeah, no, that's okay. Because you've got the numbers listed here, so that's okay. Never mind.
anybody else? All right.
Okay.
Frank, do you need any other direction on that one?
Not on that particular one. Next, though, is supporting documentation. We're giving you, every time you do a resolution, you double the work, right? So you do the RCA and then the resolution. I'm not complaining about it because it leaves a good record. It also gives you the ask. If that resolution doesn't tell you specifically what this is about, then it's not a very good resolution. You okay with that? Keep the support material coming.
Yep.
Don't summarize. Okay, timeline for agenda preparation. If you go to the last page there, we tried out a little graphic that says, okay, left side is the goal, is the meeting date, and it assumes Thursdays, which may be inaccurate right to start with, because you may bounce back to Tuesdays, you know.
Yes,
First
we-
page.
yes, we will.
Okay, so do that,
Like
number one,
Thursdays.
bounce it back to Tuesdays?
Yes.
Okay. And then,
As of when?
I'm sorry.
As of when?
Well,
Well, it's
How
gonna
long
be
did Frank
September,
ask
because
us?
August isn't August the primary?
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
And so we're
Stay
the
away
Tuesday
from that.
before.
September? So bring it back in September? The idea is
We're
to,
meeting August 2nd, which is a Tuesday, because of the election that week.
Okay. So we'll meet August 2nd.
So
on
let
Tuesday.
me ask, I know we pushed it back a week early. We got the election on the 9th. And we have potentially a new administrator coming in that same time frame. Can we get everything done by the 2nd?
And you got the P and Z meeting the week before, which is hard to get.
because, last week of.
Leave it on this 11th then?
Should we go back to the 11th?
Okay.
And so wait till September to go to the Tuesdays.
And that would be Tuesday, the 13th.
We've got the 11th in there, just FYI.
Yeah, so let's go, August 11th is a Thursday.
Can we go back to July for a second? We have a meeting on the 11th and the 12th of July.
On the 11th.
We currently have a meeting on the
Is
11th,
that big
depending
one?
on how many finalists we have.
Yeah.
Right now, Jason, you said the earliest you could make the interviews was 5 o'clock?
On the 11th?
Yeah. I mean, for some reason, I think Pat was thinking we would take the day and do this. I don't think he asked everybody to take a day off, though. So if we have 6 interviews and they're an hour apiece, and we don't start before 5, that would make a pretty late night. So in that case, we would probably have to have it the 11th and the 12th. The council meeting is currently scheduled for the 14th.
Yeah, there's nothing on the 12th.
Okay.
That's a lot in 1 week. July 11, 12, and 14.
There isn't anything on the 12th. That's
Yes, he
what.
said.
No, I'm just saying, if we have
Take
6 candidates and we can't start until 5 in the evening,
Oh, okay.
And
they're an
She's
hour
not
apiece.
available on Tuesdays.
Well, second Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the 12th. July 12th is the second Tuesday. That's why we moved the council meeting to the 14th.
Sure.
so we've got to figure out something with Pat. Any chance you guys can take a day off on the 11th? You're just coming back from vacation, aren't you?
No, I work that week. That's a work week. I'm not taking a day off of work and a day off of vacation so.
Well, we originally planned it the week before, but you weren't available.
So,
Because originally this was planned for the 7th.
Well, can we change the council meeting?
See?
So that's not on the 14th. It's enough to do the 11th and the 12th, much less a council meeting on the
So-
14th.
Move it to the
Is
19th.
is everybody available the week of 4th of July?
A week.
Because originally Pat scheduled the final interviews for the 7th.
I thought someone in our group couldn't make it the 7th.
Was that you, Jason?
I can make the 7th.
I don't.
That would be
I don't keep that stuff. But
like
You
for
can't.
Wednesday,
No, you can't.
8 and 9. So I'm sorry, but that gets in there.
You can make the 8th?
I know 8 and 9 are totally out. 7th is
Iffy?
borderline, yeah. It's,
Don't try to put it in.
So what if we would leave this 11th for the administrator interviews, take the 14th for administrator interviews, and move the council meeting to the 19th? Because Frank, you only have the conflict on the second Tuesday, correct?
Is this August we're talking
No, we're
about?
talking July. That way we would get our interviews in the same week, and we would drop the council meeting back a week, and then P and Z is the next week, so we're not interfering with P and Z, so.
I'd run that by Pat. One of the things
Yeah.
Pat was concerned with, even doing it over 2 days, is you kind of lose the continuity of
Yeah.
what did you interview here, and now 3 days later you're
Yeah,
interviewing
And I understand that,
Do
but if
these
we have
interviews
council
have to
members that
be an
can't.
hour long?
Well, that's what he's scheduled them for, and I think that it's a pretty big decision. I don't know if you, because again, an hour isn't just
But
necessarily an
are
hour
we
of
gonna end
questioning.
up with 6 people? That's another thing. You know, this whole thing may resolve itself and we only get 4 candidates, or 3.
We may,
You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
looks really good, but the 2 have dropped out
But
already.
I agree with Jeff. I mean, an hour is like, you gotta
again, remember, you're gonna get people in
You
and
need to have an hour.
and give them- you're not necessarily questioning
explain
them
the
for an hour.
process.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it feels like you try to make that a half hour, 45 minutes, that's, you're
No,
shorting
no,
yourself,
no,
right?
no. And
I
then
think, I
them.
think an hour's gonna be a push, to be honest.
Yeah, you're gonna have to break between each. Well,
Sorry I mentioned it.
Well, no, I mean, we've got to get it
Yeah, we
resolved.
do.
How does council feel about the 11th and the 14th? So there is 2 days in between, but if we have a council member that can't make it a full day, or 2 possibly, that work and can't take a day off, that we have a Monday and Thursday, and then we move the council meeting till the 19th.
I can do that.
That,
Yeah, I just have to see, because I think the information packets that went out to the people told them to keep the 11th open, so we'd have to.
so what are the
Yeah, keep
dates?
the 11th and the 14th.
flexibility is part of being an administrator.
Okay, so what are the dates?
11th, 14th, and the 19th. The 11th and the 14th, we'd start at 5, and the 19th, we'd start at 7.
And that's all July.
Heck, it's
So I
not
think
too
July's not too bad for me.
So what did you say, July
Okay,
11th?
Liz, what did you just say?
Well, you got back-to-back weeks for your 2 meetings, which, I mean, it can be done, you know, but it's just the staff trying to get packets out. P and Z's not that big, as big of a deal as the council.
All right, so I have the 11th and the 14th, both at 5 o'clock.
14th now is at 5 o'clock.
And they're both interview days.
Yep.
And then the 19th, our meeting, our regular meeting, regular council meeting, 7 o'clock.
No, but they want to do interviews on the 14th, they don't, if you run out of time.
Subject to them.
It's the 14th and it's gonna start at 5.
And the 19th was a regular meeting,
Yep.
7 PM.
And then we go to the 19th.
We'll just,
We'll of course have to check with Pat to make sure that that's good for him on the 14th.
And that's our regular council meeting.
And I suppose pushing to get to 4 is a possibility, just push.
I mean, I would rather go into work early and come home early in order to meet at 4 o'clock interview time than take a whole day, but I could take a half a day, or I could even take a whole day and then skip the other interview day if we did it a day interview. You know what I mean?
But we want everybody, and Jason doesn't want to take that time, and I don't blame you.
Well, can you
Take a
come
work
in a
day.
little early?
I can come at, I can try, I can do 4,
Which date?
Monday, the 11th.
11th?
Yep.
Well, we may be pared down by then. Then we may only have 4 or 5, and we can finish it one night. It's possible.
Yep.
When are we just listening to their 1 minute and 20-second thing or whatever? What's the date on that?
Pat will be sending that out tomorrow.
And we'll just do that on our own?
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, as the committee, you can start, they're up now, Linda. You can be looking at them tonight if you want to.
Yeah, as soon as I get home.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm up all night with this stuff. Gonna show
but
all
no,
my
the,
dedication before the end of the year.
we'll find out, you know, so their deadline was today, and Pat will be sending out all that information tomorrow. And
So now we're going back to 4 o'clock on the 11th, I gotta change the time here.
and then you have
Okay.
until the
Sorry.
16th, so a week from today, we'll get together and pick finalists
Okay.
By number.
by number. And that is, looks like it's at 5:30.
All right, are we ready to talk about August? Is that what you're talking about right
Wait,
now?
no.
No, so a week from tonight, we have another meeting. 5:30, and that's to pick the finalist. So you will be getting an email from Pat tomorrow, and it's gonna have the better part of whatever's left of the 25 candidates who applied. And he sent out a list of ones that we called it down to, 12 people we called it down to, and at least 2 of those people have dropped out. So there's gonna be 10, or however many people submitted their videos. There'll be a certain amount of videos that you can look through, everything you get from Pat. But we're recommending these 10 be considered semifinalists. And you'll get a resume, you'll get a cover letter, you'll get a personality profile, and you'll get a video. And from that, he's asking us to get together next Thursday and pick the finalists that we will then interview on the July 11th. And between the 16th of June and July 11th, he'll be doing additional background checks and reference checks and the like.
All right, so we got a meeting next Thursday, the 16th,
At 5:30.
at 5:30, and then in July, on the 11th, at 4.
Wait a minute. Next Thursday, we have another one, the 16th?
The
Yeah.
16th.
Where have I been? Oh, yeah, at 7 o'clock?
5:30.
5:30.
Oh, I'm all mixed up. 5:30. And what's this one for?
That's to pick the semifinalist by number.
Okay. 5:30.
Actually, the finalist.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, the final.
Okay, so I've got one next Thursday.
They are the
16th,
semifinalists until you're done.
June 16th, 5:30. And these are 4, now this 11 o'clock one is 4 o'clock now, right?
Yes.
The 11th,
The 11th.
11th is 4, 14th is 5, 19th is 7,
Yeah,
right? Do I have
yes.
it?
yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got these right.
7.
And 5:30 to 16.
And Natalie, staff will have to let the Lions know about the meeting on the 16th, because they meet here at 7:30. They could, use the basement if we just have to give them keys to the basement.
Do all this, council members need to be here for all of these? I mean, can these be, let's say someone gets COVID or something, will it continue without all of us?
I ain't gonna answer for the mayor, but I think we're on a schedule and we need to proceed. So if there's 4 of us, you know what I mean, and we need to do the interviews.
Okay, yeah, all right, I'm with you.
Pat's got a schedule, and intertwined in that is Frank, so we gotta go, we gotta do it. I think the next big question is,
Thank you, Mayor Greenberg.
I think the next big question then is,
Assistant Mayor Greenberg.
the next big question is August. Are we doing a Tuesday or a Thursday council meeting?
Thursday, the 11th.
So we're Thursday in August, not Tuesday, so. I
Because the first Tuesday is too early to get the packets together, and the second Tuesday is election day. And we can't meet on election day.
Okay, so hang on while I adjust my schedule. So the 11th, normal meeting time of 7.
The 11th isn't the 7. Oh, you're talking
We're in
about
August.
Okay.
7 PM start time, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like-
August,
like
I get it, I
tonight,
get it, I get it. No, I got it.
All right, was there anything else in August? Right now, it's just that council meeting on the Thursday, second
Yep.
Thursday.
Well, and hopefully we'll be introducing an administrator at some point in that month, but
But right now, we don't have any other hard date.
No.
That's the only hard date we have right now for
and the other
August.
thing is, we'll have a P and Z, but that's
Mr. Mayor,
council member, or Natalie.
we should have something on the date for a work session for the budget.
Oh,
Good
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We have a couple of budget meetings coming up.
Sorry to remind you.
Well, we're already behind because our first one should have been in mid-June here, so.
All right, so can we finish with this then, and then go to the next meeting? We're staying on task.
So what we'll do on, just so on the budget meetings, I will ask Frank to send out a questionnaire like we've done in the past. Tell us your schedule so they can tentatively find out when they're gonna have a preliminary budget, and then we can just say, when can we fit it in? And
If we
whoever
could
can
do
make it-
that now, that
Yeah,
would
we'd
save
just
a
do it
big
now,
pain in the
yeah.
neck, because if.
I don't know
every
when they're
time
gonna
you
have the
send this
preliminary
out-
done though.
Oh,
You know, I'm meeting with
okay, that's fine.
Lori again on next Wednesday to hopefully do the simplify, the verbiage and combine a few accounts.
So we'll have staff
Okay,
put
Stein.
together when they can be available, and then send it out and see when we can get them, at least the majority of us together.
And this will be in August or July?
July. We need to start in July and wrap up by September. Typically, this part
Is there a
is,
mattress here so we just sleep here, baby?
we got those
We'll
comfy
get some
chairs
recycled
downstairs.
ones, get her down there.
Yeah.
They're very
Maybe
challenging.
we can just,
All right, so that being said, this started because, so we'll adjust the goal, the council meeting date. And then Frank, you want to walk us through the rest of what you got here?
In part, this is just kind of show you the various steps we take in order to put out the budget each time.
The packet.
The packet each and every time. Unless, well, I don't see that there are too many fewer steps that can be taken. The resolution format, is that satisfactory? I know it looks kind of crazy here with all these spaces. But we put together a template so that other staff members can put together their own resolutions, just as they put together their own RCAs. Okay with that?
yes?
Let's see here, and then I think it's right, we got the timeline calling for 7 days between meeting date and distribution availability of the packet. Is that satisfactory? Is that too much? Could it be less? Do you want to make that, well, I was going to say, do you want to make it a hard date? The biggest problem with that is occasionally it's going to get blown.
I think the target of 7 days is what we were working at before, and, because it gives people a chance to review it and get back to you with any questions. Get back to staff, anything that wasn't clear, anything that needs to be cleared up. So I think that should be the target.
Okay?
And that would also give a target so that people can get their invoices in, we can get the, because technically, I mean, we're still doing checks today and our meetings are normally on Tuesdays, so we've got to have some hard dates in there so that you can function.
That would be really nice.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Blake?
while we're talking about this, this sort of applies, doesn't really, sort of. What do? Return these to you and are we?
If
do
you
we
want the
leave
guts of
everything
it,
in these
take-
and return to you? Do you want us to take this information out for you and then return them?
Easiest way is just give it back to us as you get it. Now, if you want to save the pages, then you've got to do some dissecting. But we ask that we get all the dividers back, of course.
Yeah,
And
and if
I
you leave it in there, then you'll just have it all in there anyway for the next time. You'll have all the information.
Yeah. And you do get an electronic, we were gonna continue the electronic copy in any case.
Yeah.
So worst comes to worst, you take that copy and put it in your long-term files. Although, the thing that takes away is your ability to write on it electronic, because I know some of you write notes on your paper copy.
Good, okay, that's all I just.
Does anybody not want this?
I liked it.
Okay. Because it's a lot of work to put together if you're not going to use it. But otherwise, if you don't want the hard copies, just give it back as it is and you guys
We'll call
recycle
it
it.
out.
If you want the hard copies, take them out and give the notebooks back.
Well,
I do request the mayor delivers it, because coming
That
and
was very
trying to
nice.
lift it and everything, I could use a little help that way.
You guys missed your opportunity. I hand-delivered them to these houses. All you had to do is call them.
Could one of you build just a little bit bigger barn mailbox for us now?
Yeah.
All right. So any other questions on,
Yeah, I was
on this portion of the paint by numbers?
No, Mayor.
Mayor Stockman.
I just have a couple comments on the step-by-step schedule.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's a good idea to start for relief, right? And even if your draft agenda is either whittled down or you add something. But, for instance, like step 5, department head sends draft RCAs to admin. Well, that's the date of the P and Z meeting. There's no way.
Every one of them?
Pardon?
Every one of them is?
Well, see, and
It's
that's-
going to be the third Tuesday.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
fourth
that's my
Tuesday of
other
the month.
point here is that, like, step 5 on May 24th is a Tuesday, but step 5 for June 24th is a Friday. So I think we should make the days consistent.
Yeah,
But
rather than the dates.
yeah, like just second Tuesday, third Tuesday, whatever. I think if we kind of stick with Tuesdays, because our, application schedule too is on a Tuesday, but I know you've got some more in-between steps though, so that's fine if some are not.
Okay, not on P and Z meeting night, that was one thing I heard, and then 2, make it the same, if it's gonna be third Tuesday, then make it the third Tuesday regardless.
Yeah, consistent days of the week,
Okay,
so you know like what day you gotta get it in.
good.
And that way, Natalie, you can weigh in, when do you need invoices? You know we're going to cut it off, because a lot of cities have 2 meetings a month, so what you don't pay now, you can pay in 2 weeks. But ours, you can't pay for another month, and we don't want to have penalties on that. So-
right, and most everything that's an every month, a reoccurring, I've tried to put on ACH so that we weren't getting the finance charges, because what was happening was we were getting lots of finance charges. $3 here, $10 here, $6 there. So I've tried to put all of those on. But like, I think yesterday when I added stuff last night when I was working was just a few more invoices that kind of came in. But if I didn't pay them, they were gonna be more than 30 days late again. Because our next meeting isn't really for another 4 weeks to get approval for them to go out. So I was trying to do everything that
Which is
came
why
out
a lot
in
of
the
cities
mail.
meet twice a month.
Right.
And
So,
then like Shane, he bills like for all of May. Whereas I bill like by weeks, so like for May, I billed through June 3rd. Again, so I didn't get a bill in this month, but, anyway, it's all different, and, yeah, but you do have to just set a deadline.
But I think if we can standardize it, it's a good goal, and we just got to work the bugs out of it. But at least this way, everybody knows, and especially, one of the reasons we're trying to do paint by numbers is new people coming in have a pattern to follow, so.
Yeah, that will be helpful, very helpful, Rick. Good
So
job.
we'll tweak it.
And
keep going.
Natalie. Good job, Natalie.
well, yeah, the books are pretty much Frank and Adrian. I can't take much credit for that except for giving them the idea to do the books.
That should help a lot for the new person, you're right.
And it does make it a lot easier when we're putting them together, because what Adrian was able to do is, well, obviously she missed a couple, but when one agenda item is done, she could have that copied and put it in all your books. It's the last minute changes of stuff that come in. Like, okay, my claims list changed and I did it last night, because I was in training all day yesterday. So she quick added that into the PDF. I gave you guys each a copy, so you have the new updated claims. But it's when somebody comes in at the last minute with something,
Ebony and Garnett.
yeah, Ebony and Garnett came in at the last minute. But we wanna make sure that it gets into the PDF that's actually stored as a full, and if it's a change at the very last minute, well, that's a kind of a process. It doesn't just happen by saying, oh, let's slide it in. So,
All right, so good progress, like what we're seeing. Did you want to talk about this portion of it at all, Frank?
This is, well, it's a rather thin notebook. At the present time, it does represent some significant steps forward in doing our paying by numbers. If you go through here, you generally see the title of the action being taken, and then the steps and who's involved in those steps. It's something that will evolve over time, but Adrian has certainly taken to it. We're very grateful for that, because it's almost everything we do is subject to this book. Not some of the real complex items, because you get into multi-page kinds of paint by numbers, but at least the basics. And when we first started here, November 1, it was those basics that at least I was told, I don't know where to even to start on this. At least this will provide that basis. You're welcome to look at this anytime, and we welcome input on it, because maybe we're seeing it too close, and you've got some suggestions that can make the processes
And
even better.
the other thing we talked about when we were meeting today with the consultant was it's important to have somebody who doesn't do it look at it and say, maybe you understand this, but I don't. And in my background, it's always self-evident to a layperson. So if you look at it and say, if you told me to do this procedure, I couldn't do it, then we're probably not there yet.
Mr. Mayor,
Nellie.
I challenge all 5 of you. Come in, take her credit card payments. Use the steps that she had. Come in and help us put an agenda together so that we can know if we're missing a step in that for someone new. Come answer the phone. Take the steps on how to answer the phone, and then be able to transfer it to someone when the new phones get here. I think that's gonna be awesome. We should be set up for that. But seriously, I challenge you, because you guys aren't in the office. Come in and try the step by step and see if it works.
Encourage us, don't challenge us.
Okay, well, I am challenging.
Thanks, already beaten
I
up
wanna
me enough this
see you do
week.
it.
And I have actually. I've run the credit card machine,
Yes, you
answered the
have on the
phones.
credit card machine, but, I mean, it would be nice to have somebody who doesn't know how to do it now that we've kind of done it a few times, to see if Adrian and I are gone and the new administrator has to take a credit card, is that person gonna be able to do it real quick?
And that's why I
By
say
looking
that when I do work instructions at work, it's self-evident to a layperson. Can somebody, a council member off the street, come in and say, yeah, I can take a credit card, here's what I do, step by step. We had a dickens of a time trying to figure out how to get into voicemail. Which, with new phones, they should be a lot easier, but some of the basic things like, so. But I agree, we should be encouraged to do that, so. All right, one last item, status of Ebony and Garnett Road Improvement Project. We have an update here that came tonight. A little more information from, that was in the book. We have a resolution here. So you're gonna pull the packet that was here when you came in.
Mayor, members of the council, first of all, I apologize for the lateness of the revised document, but it changes this agenda item in accordance, I think, with your desires from an information item to an action item. You're familiar with the Ebony and Garnett project and many of the problems that we've had, the incompleteness of the project as it stands today, and you've given us clear direction to get moving on this. And that's exactly what this agenda item does. There is a resolution here which would terminate the contract with Molnow Trucking, send a letter to them to that effect in accordance with the legal requirements as identified as our city attorney, and also accept the quote of North Valley Inc. and of Erosion Works Inc. at their respective costs, as you can see there, to undertake work to move the project forward. Whether it absolutely completes the project, it's hard to say at this point. But this will get us much closer to completing the specifications as they were laid out. And so, Mayor, members of the council, the recommendation from the staff is to adopt this resolution, moving us forward on that project for the benefit of the 20 property owners served by the improvement.
Any questions at this point? As Frank said, this doesn't necessarily, we're not telling the residents that we're absolutely 100% certain this is all done, so therefore you'll realize there is still money in reserve after we pay these two contractors to complete that. At that point, we'll survey the residents and see if there's anything that was missed. Obviously, you can read the attorney's letter there. Molnow Trucking is not responding, their insurance agents aren't responding, so we are taking the legal opportunity we have to use the money we held in reserve to pay for remedies. We're also holding back money in case some of the seeding work doesn't work and we have to do it again. Because typically you don't seed when it comes late June and July. So, any questions? I mean, obviously the complete packet came in here late. We were working. I understand Frank was working with Bob and Shane on this. So, but for those residents, if you've been in contact with the residents that have been concerned about this, this does appear to be what the punch list was from the engineering firm, but we still have money in reserve if there's something that surprises us. If there's no questions, I would take a motion to approve this resolution, terminating the agreement with Molnow Trucking and accepting quotes from North Valley and Erosion Works to complete the work.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Blake.
Blake, close enough. Close enough.
I'm sorry. Since you guys
I was
excited.
facing the wrong way, it's my
Would you
fault.
please raise your
I
voice,
saw,
Mr. Speaker?
I saw her,
It's
looked
not a
like her
loud
lips
voice.
were moving and you were turned the other way.
Yeah, I apologize.
One of the council members over here that's
One of those girls over there. Yeah.
Councilmember Rainville,
So
sorry.
I would recommend that the city council pass the resolution 2022 whatever it will be, terminating the agreement with Molnow Trucking LLC and accepting the quotes from North Valley Inc. and Erosion Works Inc. And I would add that we would then get those items scheduled with North Valley and Erosion Works.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Rainville
Second it.
and a second from Councilmember Blake. Any other questions or comments? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. One last item. And a motion to adjourn.
Wait a minute,
I make a motion.
wait a minute.
Oh,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Greenberg.
do I have the council's permission to start doing some investigative work into a pickleball court and or work at the park, like updating some of our frisbee golf units?
We
Does he
do
have to
have
write that
a
up?
resident that plays pickleball regularly, even through COVID, would like to be part of that process.
So do I have the council's permission to make progress in that direction?
What exactly are you looking for? Where and?
A start. I made a start today by making a call to Blaine, who had just stuck in one right next to where I work. I go, this is a wonderful pickleball court. How much did that cost? It cost to the tune of 110 grand. So we're gonna have.
Single court? Or is it multiple?
I think it's a single, but they had a basketball court with one hoop put on to the next of it. The point is,
You gotta gather information.
I'm looking at assembling a group which might be the leftover, not the leftover, but the former, Parks and Rec Committee, or putting something on the website that says, are you interested in being one of those ad hoc committees that we talked about a long time ago? And then start pursuing some, contracting bids for doing some work.
So
Well,
we
please
don't
research
have we don't, this committee, we make an ad hoc committee up as we need it? Is that
Yeah.
what we do? Okay.
That's what the ad hoc committees are. So we can put that on the website
Ad hoc.
and have people that are interested. You know Stan Halverson, don't you?
So we may find out that, that the pickleball court might be, in order to be done, might be a very small project compared to what I saw in Blaine was some premium thing. So depending on what the cost might be, it might be some pretty simple thing like just an overlay of tar with a net. Or it might be that plus a fence on each end, depending on the cost. Anyways, I'd like to make some progress in that direction.
Go.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Planner Stockman.
I'll get you a price from Otsu, they just put one into, see what theirs was.
What
They
did,
double.
Prior Lake just put in?
We put, they put in 8 courts, $440,000, as I recall.
For 8 courts?
Yeah. 2 fours.
Yeah, the
And they had
the
the
people that
land
are playing,
already.
people that are playing said the courts are full.
He's obsessed with it.
Who's obsessed with it?
All right, so now we'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn.
We are adjourned. It is 9:50. Rainville.